is big, and it's closer than you think. It's not a tournament. It's what you don't see on TV. The cash is real. The stakes are high. They bet big. They win big. They lose big. High stakes live action poker. Live at the bike. Watch it live on the web or play it if you dare at the Bicycle Casino right here in Los Angeles.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another week of Live at the Bike, brought to you by the Bicycle Casino in Los Angeles, California. The first and only webcast of real action cash game poker. My name is Bart Hanson. I'm here with Dave Tuckman. Because I'm here today, it means I didn't make the final table of the Omaha event.
That kind of sucks.
More about that later on throughout the show. We're going to be doing a 5-5 no-limit game. $300 million, $500 max. And I was talking to Mo before the show. Hopefully, starting tomorrow, Tuesdays, will be our bread and butter game that we'd love to get on the show every week. The 5-10 no limit game, $500 min uncapped game, which is kind of our bread and butter.
Right.
The game that we really play the most. So without further ado, let's head over there and let's start off another week at Live at the Bike.
Let's do it. In seat number 1, we've got Peter. We've got Mr. Greystoke. Love that guy's name. Seat number 2, we've got Kia, like the car. Seat number 3, we've got Mark. Mark, our hospital resident. Seat number 4, we've got Al. Seat 5 will be Bill. Like Kill Bill, Bill. Seat 6, we've got Johnny. Johnny wearing the San Francisco Giant hat. Seat number 7, we've got Tony. Seat 8, we've got Eric. There's Eric. Good old Eric. And seat 9, we've got Jennifer. Filling out a little paperwork there.
So some new faces on the show, some familiar faces on the show. 5-5 no limit. Yellow chips are $5 chips, $300 min, $500 max buy-in game.
Now, there's Bill there. And seat number 6, the San Francisco hat there. That's actually Tony Barbera. So we'll call him Tony. Or Corey. It's actually Johnny, Tony, Corey. It's kind of a 3 last name thing going on there. So we're going to call him Corey. Okay. Kind of butchered that name, didn't we? First hand of the night here, 3-handed, limped around, $15 pot. King 10-4, all clubs. Not much of anything to speak of. Oh, we got a set of fours there.
Seat number 2, and he's going to bet 15, not a board that you're going to slow play with a set, obviously.
No. Although I'm going to say something here. Oftentimes, I won't necessarily slow play it, but at the same time, I'm not looking to play a big pot with that hand just yet.
Yeah, it was actually King 10-4 all clubs. Yeah, we brought this up, Dave, last week. I actually mentioned an example. This is something, we kind of bring a lot of new strategy to the show, and it's something we haven't talked about before because I encountered it in Vegas in a cash game at Caesars against a limit player. When you have what seems to be a pretty big hand, you're not going to fold it, but the board is either so connected, like flopping the bottom end of a straight on a 2-flush board. Might you want to wait until the turn to commit a lot of chips to that hand? Maybe a similar thing with what you're saying here.
Yeah, I got to tell you, in a hand like that, I don't really want to commit a lot of chips ever until I fill up.
Right.
You got to realize that against a good player, I'm not going to I don't want to take a lot of heat. Now, in that one case there, maybe I can get heat from somebody who has ace-king with the ace of clubs, but obviously I'm not out of the water there. So you just got to be cautious with a hand like that, especially if you're taking a lot of heat. Interesting hand on Friday night that I got involved with where it came out similar flop, all clubs. I had ace-8 of clubs. Happy. Corporation Mike had flopped bottom 2 pair, and Filipino Tony, Tournament Tony, and flopped a smaller flush. So obviously it was a windfall for me. But you've got to realize how susceptible a set can be. If you are taking a lot of heat, you could easily be up against a 1 flush, maybe even 2 flushes. You don't know. You can't assume somebody doesn't have a flush.
Pocket kings here for seat number 4. It's going to bring it in for a raise.
And how about queens for seat number 5?
It looks like Jennifer has pocket queens down here, and she's going to make the re-raise.
Oh.
She makes it 75 to go. Seat 4 has raised it with kings. So it's actually Jennifer over here with pocket queens. And what is Al going to do here in seat 4? he is going to re-raise, and she easily folds the hand.
Wow.
Not going to get involved with it.
So there was a raise, a
Yeah.
re-raise, and then a third bet by Al. And Jennifer there in seat 5, actually, with the Queens, immediately throws it away. My mind was playing tricks on me.
Yeah. Button's going to move over here to seat 2.
Because I'm looking over on the cameras, and I'm looking over here, and it's all very confusing.
Big blinds over here in seat 4. Jennifer's going to fold. Now, it looks like the Button's got 7-4 offsuit. He's going to fold, and it looks like they're going to chop it up here. Mark and C4, if they do chop. Mark's got a king-queen
I'm not sure
offsuit.
if Mark chops.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see what he does. He's got king-queen offsuit here.
Well, maybe he is going to chop. Yeah, they do. So obviously you are back. The World Series of Poker continues. Our own mini-series of poker continues. And what the hell are you doing here?
Yeah,
You're not supposed to be here.
You know, I had a better tournament. Again, you know, I'm not going to say, you know, if they pay 27 spots out, Dave, and I, you know, finish 30th, or if I finish 150th, or I finish 300th, there's really no difference. I mean, I think I played well. Unfortunately, it just wasn't my year this year in Omaha.
Right.
But I got to tell you, it was a fun little thing because I rescheduled my flight. I had planned on leaving at 10 a.m. I rescheduled to 6 a.m. Sunday morning. I played the cash game all night at the Rio 2040 Omaha. The craziest night I've ever played. Now, seat number 7 is going to bring this one in for a raise with king-queen offsuit to
And
20. Now, seat 5 has got 7-5 of hearts in the big blind, and the small blind is called with ace-8 offsuit. So we're going to see three-way action here. Here we go to the flop, king 9-3. So Tony there, the pre-flop raiser, he's hit top pair, and he's going to bet.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. This will probably go bet, fold, fold.
Yep.
You imagine?
And there it is.
Neither player has anything.
Now, anyone that's not really familiar with playing Omaha in a cash game, sometimes they do it in stud high-low. We do it a little bit differently here. We don't have a kill in stud high-low. We kind of have an action button. But a lot of times in Omaha in a cash game, they'll have what is called the kill. We were playing with a half kill, which basically meant anytime a pot was scooped and the pot was over $200, the level went up to 30-60. And we had a kill pot every hand.
Well, anytime there's a scoop pot, obviously $200 is not very much in a 2040 game.
Well, you know, it's not, but at the same time, every single scoop pot
was.
The blinds were never chopped. I ended up winning about $3,200 in a 2040 game. It was amazing. And I was down a quick $1,300 right off the bat.
Well, at least, you know, you look at it that way, obviously, at least you paid for your trip and your tournament.
Yes, yes. Now, Mark is going to bring this one in for a raise with 5-7 offsuit. And the button's going to make a smooth call here with ace-queen of diamonds. Does not re-raise, just makes the call. Seat 5 is going to come in with king-4 of diamonds. And Corey is going to call here with 3-5-4 offsuit. So it's an $80 pot here going 4 ways. Oh, ace-9-7. Now, Al, who made the smooth call on the button, he's got the best hand here.
Yeah, it's pretty, you wonder, is Mark going to continue? Now, he doesn't. He checks it over to the button.
Even though he picked up bottom pair and he was the pre-flop raiser, you know, sometimes you'll do that at predictable table. But when an ace comes off, it's almost like all bets are off with that many people in the hand, right?
Well, it's also a matter of, oftentimes when you're raising in late position with somewhat of a garbage hand, like 5-7, something like that, more of a speculative hand, you're looking to buy yourself the button. And oftentimes good players, when they don't buy themselves the button, they kind of shut down unless they hit a monster.
Yeah.
You've got to realize if somebody smooth calls behind you, well, now you don't have the power position. Now you're playing this hand out of position, and do you really want to deal with that?
Now, word is we were supposed to have the video block up on Friday, but I hear that it was actually going to go up on Monday tonight or early tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So we shot it on Thursday.
Couple of kinks in it, maybe?
Yeah.
Figure out.
6-way action here, limped around. Well, 8-6-3 here, a couple diamonds. Seat number 5 from up front, he's got king-7. Actually, he's on the button. He's got king-7 of diamonds. And he's going to bet here overcards, or one overcard and a flush draw. He bets 15.
You got to like that bet.
And that's probably going to get it done. Really, no one got any piece of that flop. Takes it down. New player there on the show, Bill in seat number 5.
Looks like he's sporting his World Series of Poker shirt, I think.
I'm going to tell you, it was an interesting weekend because the event on Saturday was Omaha and Limit Hold'em Dave. the place wasn't really chaotic like I think you probably were accustomed to it in the beginning of the time. You know,
I'm really looking forward to actually going back a third time now.
Yeah.
Because the second time actually wasn't as bad as the first time. I think I'm going to finally remind myself, and I'm going to ask you to remind me next year, I will not go to the World Series the first 3 days.
Really, even if it's an event that you want to play in?
There's another event that I'll want to play in.
Okay.
There'll always be another one. There's another $1,500 no-limit event later. You know, I mean, I don't need to play in that first one. It's just that first, 3 or 4 days, it's so chaotic. It's so crazy. I don't know if it's worth it.
Now, Jennifer limped in under the gun with 10-9 of spades, and we're going to see it between the blinds and Jennifer here. King Jack 3 with a couple hearts. Seat number 8 in the big blind, Eric. He's got King Deuce. He's going to throw a $15 bet out here. Top pair, weak kicker, and that's going to get it.
Yeah, I like the bet now against a larger field and some players that aren't as tight as, say, Jennifer is. You know, King Deuce is a hand where I might just check and fold. But against a player like Jennifer, I'm going to bet it because I'll know right away if she's got me beat. Pretty much. Once again, we're live at the bike. I'm David Tuckman here with Bart Hanson. You're watching No Limit Hold'em. Blinds are 5 and 5. The yellow chips are $5 chips, primarily what we'll be using in this game. If you see any purple chips, those are $25 chips. And if you see any white chips, those are $100 chips. The small little blue ones, those are tokes. They're dollar chips. And really exciting.
Now, seat number 5 is going to bring this one in for a little raise here. One off the button with ace-4 offsuit. And Jennifer's not going to defend with ace-3. And he's going to take
That's one of those cases where you're raising a couple off the button. Now, if the button were to call me and I have ace-3 there, ace-4 there, there's no way I'm going to continue with that hand unless I hit a monster.
As always, we like to keep this show interactive. You can email us at live@thebike.com. Questions, comments, suggestions. You can also follow a live thread started on the internet by going to 2plus2.com, spelled out. Click on forums, televised poker official live at the bike thread. This is July 17th today.
Yeah,
July
I'm flying, man. 17th.
17th. Yeah.
And as always, our first 30 minutes of the show, free.
Totally free.
100%.
After the first half an hour, the show will continue to be available to archived subscribers only. And you can do that by clicking on the on-demand banner in the upper left-hand corner of the screen.
Exactly.
And, you know, if you're a subscriber to the archives, not only do you get to see the entire show, you get to see every show that we've ever done, Dave, for almost a year and a half now. Now, this one was limped around here, King 10 Deuce. Mark is going to come out and bet here. He's got King 7 out of seat number 3.
Nobody's going to call him here.
Yeah, he's going to take it down.
Somewhat of a passive table post-flop. We'll see how it continues through the night. And I got to tell you, if you are not an archive subscriber, just a couple of things that you'll be missing out on when we come back from the World Series. When we come back from the World Series, it's pretty much our biggest time of the year. It's August. It's Legends of Poker time. Everybody who is anybody in poker is here. Players such as Phil Ivey, Doyle Brunson, Daniel Negreanu, Johnny Chan, they will all be here at the bike. And we will get as many, or who knows how many players, we will get on the show, in the booth, commentating, interviews. It'll all be available to all of you at Live at the Bike.
Now, we get a live straddle here. Eric is going to call with King-Queen suited. Jennifer is going to call over there on the button. And the straddle spot is going to raise it up here, Dave, with ace-queen. We talk about if you straddle on a full ring game, that's definitely a raising hand.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Spot. He makes it 50 to go, and seat 4 here is called with a dominated ace-jack. He is dominated here.
I mean, if you're only going to raise it with, say, pocket jacks and higher, at a straddle spot, it really defeats the purpose of straddling. And now when Eric calls, well, he's thinking about it. He hasn't called yet. When Eric calls here, does that bring Jennifer in? That's the question.
Eric is going to call.
Well, Jennifer, well, she's going to call this.
Yep, she's going to call as well. Jennifer has pocket nines over there, Dave.
Well, why not? You know, why not call that with pocket nines?
So it's a $200 pot here. Pre-flop raiser with ace-queen offsuit. $200 pot. Here we go. Wow, Queen Jack 3 with a couple of spades. Well, Ace Queen.
Is Eric going to get in trouble?
Yeah, Ace Queen's got the top pair. He was the pre-flop raiser, and Eric's got King Queen. He is dominated.
Well, you got to realize if you're calling a raised pot, wow, seat 2 is just going all in right away. If you are calling a raised pot with King Queen of Hearts, this is not the flop you are looking for. Remember, you can't beat Queen Jack right now, and you can't beat Ace Queen. There's not much you can actually beat. You can't beat Kings or Aces. You can only beat, say, pocket tens.
And you know what? Eric lays it down. Now,
nice
it's probably an easy lay down here for Jennifer unless she thinks the guy's doing it with Ace-King. I don't think she's going to get involved with nines. I was wondering because basically the pot is going to become about $450, and Eric's got the guy covered, so it's about a $450 pot. $220 for him to call with king-queen on a board of Queen, Jack, 3. Remember, it was the straddler that raised. Could he have missed it? Could I have the best hand with king, queen? Is it an automatic laydown? He laid it down pretty quick.
He could, but if you think he's bluffing, obviously yes, you could have the best hand. But if you think he made that move with any legitimate hand, what can you beat?
Right.
Remember, you can't beat aces, you can't beat kings, you can't beat ace queen, you can't beat jacks. I mean, what can you beat? I mean, unless you think the guy has ace king, you know, and he's just making a continuation bet, which he could be doing. Even in that case, you're not out of the woods yet. He could catch a 10 or an ace.
For a couple of minutes, we're going to go without card graphics. Dave and I will lead you through here what's going on. Yeah. Looks like it's limped around here, and Mark is going to raise it up here out of the big blind.
Interesting that Jennifer in seat 9 and seat number 4, Al there, they kind of have a little straight flush going on. Yeah, they have 10 jack. One of them has king jack, actually, seat number 4, while Jennifer has queen 10, all hearts.
Now, Mark has raised it out of the big blind with ace 9 offsuit. Seat 4 has called with king jack of hearts. Seat number 7 has an interesting hand. He's got pocket sixes. He's going to come in. And is that going to bring Jennifer in here with queen 10 of hearts?
I got to tell you, some people would not call this. I know sometimes you say not to. Yeah. I don't mind calling this. You just got to remember you're not looking for your queen. You are looking for 2 pair. You're looking for a straight. You're looking for a flush.
Well, she's not going to get involved. She's a pretty tight player. Yeah. It's not a bad laydown, I don't think. She's not that deep, Dave.
Right. What I was going to say, nothing wrong with laying it down. Yeah. But I also don't think there's anything wrong with calling that. Just making sure that you can get away from it.
4-way action, 3-way action. It's a $150 pot. Wow, look at this Jack 8 deuce. What a monster flop for seat 4. And Jennifer would have had to have gotten involved. She would have had a heart draw with a gut shot to the 9.
Yeah. And obviously her heart draw would be dead. She'd be really in bad shape.
And look at this, a bet here by Mark. Looks like 120, and a smooth call here by seat 4 with the flush draw on top pair. He does not raise, he just calls. And the turn's a 9, and Jennifer would have made the Broadway straight. King Jack continues to be the best hand, and he takes the card. He does not bet out with the hearts, and the river is an ace. And look at that. Mark actually turned a pair of 9s. Now he has aces up on the river with ace 9, and he checked it. He didn't bet the river. And
how do you check that?
Seat number 4 turns over King Jack in a showdown, but Mark's going to win it there with ace 9. Jennifer would have had a monster flop. She would have had queen 10 of hearts, gut shot to the 9. She would have made it on the turn. She would have made a whole bunch of money.
I don't quite understand how you check that. You got to remember, okay, I'm just going to say something here. You bet, the guy calls you, right? Okay, well, now you check. He checks behind you. What do you think he has?
Yeah.
Give me some hands that you think he might have there. Now remember, you have the ace of hearts in your hand, so he does not have the ace-high flush draw.
Yeah, Mark did have the ace of hearts in his hand.
But if I make 2 pair on the river, I mean, yeah, I guess I could be losing to ace-jack, but is he really going to check ace-jack on a turn? I don't know. Kind of a top odd place to check. Now, once again, that queen 10 of hearts hand by Jen, nothing wrong with laying that down. Jennifer's not that deep in this game. That's part of the consideration you have to be thinking about, obviously, if you're making a call like that. One of the reasons I might have called there is just because there were 3 other players involved. So suddenly I'm already getting over 3-1 on my money. You know. Get a raise here at a seat number 7. And that is Tony there. He makes it $15 to go with the old 4-3 of diamonds. He buys himself the button, which is always important. Actually, he's going to buy himself the pot. Takes it down.
So button moves over here to seat 3.
Once again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or you just want to say hi, or if you have any sex questions, feel free to ask us. I'm still waiting for somebody. Or relationship-oriented questions, go ahead.
You know, Dave, we had
send out a little dear Bart Tuck.
We had a nice little meeting between the staff about what we're doing over at the convention, at the Rio Lifestyles Convention. Of course, we're going to be working with Adult Poker Party. And, oh, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, what a bore. We get to work with Jenna Jameson.
Yeah. King, king, queen here. And look at this. Now, seat number 5 has got a king. King, king, queen on the flop. Mark raised it pre-flop. He bets out with the queen. Seat 4 calls with Jack 9, a gut shot to the 10 here. And seat number 5 is going to raise it up here with King Deuce. He is going to raise it up with King Deuce. He is going to make it 100 more. Or actually 70 more there.
Now, I don't mind this raise. The thing you have to realize, obviously, in this game, it's awfully tough to get away from trips.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? Just call and call and call. The board is a little bit draw heavy for me to play it that passively.
Now, Mark actually raised it up from the button. Bill defended with King Deuce. Mark made the continuation bet with the Queen, got a small blind caller, and then Bill made the check raise with King Deuce from the big blind.
And oftentimes we always point out the fact that you've got to be aware with a hand like King Deuce, if you take any heat, you are probably behind. But in that case, in this game, sometimes you have trips and you're only $300 deep or $250 deep. It's really tough to get away from those hands when you're not that deep.
Button moves here to seat number 4.
So obviously, you and I both played in the Poker Stars.
Yeah, that was
234 satellite yesterday. What an event! Ronnie, our own Ronnie, played in it. Pajedo played in it. Our own Action Mo played in it.
Yeah.
And of course, we all won seats, right?
Yeah, almost. Well, I actually came pretty close. There was about 7,700 people, and I finished in 500. They gave away 245 seats, 235 seats. It's pretty close, Dave. And I had average chips. I had probably about a coin flip to make it.
You did. I was sweating you for a second there, and I remember looking down. You had 32,000 in chips with about 550 people left.
Yeah.
I really thought you had a chance. I went to go play with my gay dog, came back, and before I knew it, you were down to out, and I was like, oh no, what happened? I was so upset. I really was.
10-5-3 here was limped around. Seat 4 is going to bet out here, and he's going to take it down.
Yep, that's Al.
Al with ace high takes it down there. Yeah, I just had one of these situations where I had average chips. I made a standard open raise to 3 times the big blind with king, queen offsuit from the button. The big blind, which sometimes always throws me off, Dave, mini raised me back, which means 3,000 more. So the pot was basically about 13,000, 3,000 for me to call with king, queen on the button. I called. The flop came out ace, 10, 7, rainbow. He led into the pot for like 3,000. Like, such a weak bet. I decided to call to see what happened. I thought I might take it away from him on the turn. I had a bit of a draw. Maybe I thought I had overcards the second pair. The turn came a brick. He bet again, and I just figured at that point that even if I were to make a move there, if he had an ace, he wasn't going anywhere, and I saved my chips for a later time. Ace 8-6 here on the flop. It was limped around. Turn is queen of hearts here.
Changes nothing.
Now, Eric is going to lead out here. He's got Jack 5. He's just making a little play with it. Now, Al's got a pair of 8s over there in seat 4. He has the best hand right now. Remember, it was a limped around, but Eric using his image, he's going to bluff it out there. I believe he got kind of a free ride, or he posted up front there. But yeah, he was in the big blind game for Jack 5. Eric.
See, oftentimes, the funny thing is, in a cash game, normally floating one off, taking one to see what the other player will do on the turn is a great play. Actually, Sklansky talks about it. Sklansky and Miller actually talk about it in their latest No Limit book.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great play because oftentimes players are a little hesitant to put more money in the pot without an ace. In that case, but in a tournament, sometimes I always think that a lot of the players, they believe that if you had an ace, you would have raised right away. They just assume that for some reason. I don't know why.
If I had something like ace-queen there, I might just call the whole way. And if you checked me in the river, I might make a value bet.
No, you definitely would.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of what they think you would do.
Right.
It's one of those things like you would probably... The funny thing is sometimes when you're trying to represent something, you actually have to do something different than you normally would do or something I would normally do. And I'll get to that more in a second after this hand.
Limped around here, 6 deuce on the flop.
Well, Tony's got 2 pair. He's got Jack 6 there.
Yeah, he played it from the button offsuit, and he's going to bet here with the best hand. Doesn't look like anybody's going to get involved.
I got to tell you, in this table, I probably would play my button every single time. I wouldn't even look at the 2 cards.
And then just assume to bet if it got checked to
you. If it gets checked to me, I'm going to bet.
Yeah.
Because the table is playing somewhat passive post-flop. We got a new table player in seat number 6. His name is Mike. Yeah, okay, now I'm going to give you an example. You and I would both, let's say the flop comes out Jack 4, right? And we want to represent a Jack. Now, you and I would both bet our Jack right away. But if we're trying to represent a Jack to somebody else, well, then we might want a smooth call and then raise on the turn.
Right.
We almost have to do something differently than we normally want to do. So if you were trying to represent the ace, and I'm not saying this is correct or not, maybe the best way to do it would be to raise it right away. Something you normally wouldn't do, actually.
Limped around here 6 ways. Once again, no pre-flop raise.
9-8-5 there, 2 hearts. Got 2 pair there for seat number 7.
Yeah,
Tony?
he's got 8-9. He's got top 2, and he's going to bet once again.
Why not?
He bets 25 here with the 8-9. 2 hearts out there, very connected board. Now, Peter over here in seat 1, he's got a flush draw and a gut shot there to the 7. He calls. 10-6 a heart.
He can definitely call with that hand, yeah.
Might even want to play a little more aggressively there. The turn is a 6. He picks up a pair now. Now, you wonder if Tony is going to check the turn. Might Peter have thrown out a little bet there, kind of like a stoppish bet where he couldn't really get raised by 9-8 on the turn?
Well, he's got a big draw here. He can catch a 6, a 10, a 7.
He just check calls again here, and the river's a 4.
I was about to say a 7 or a heart, and none of them come.
He checks, and I assume that Tony is going to check it down there with 9-8. He's going to take down about a $200 pot. There it is. Yeah, again, I really think that Peter might have been able to throw out a name your price turn bet there, and then maybe either tried to bluff on the river, try to, maybe put the guy to a test. I mean, the guy had a big hand, but again, he can't raise with 9-8 there, can he?
Little blockish bets work a lot of times. It's funny, I mean, I was actually playing in a tournament last night, and in the big blind, I had flop top pair. I had like Jack 5, okay?
Yeah.
And the flop came out like Jack 6 deuce, okay? I hated my hand, obviously. The pot was already like 600, right? I bet 100. The guy calls me. On the turn, I bet 100. The guy called me. On the river, I bet 100. The guy called me. And I won the pot. But I was clearly putting in little blockish bets. But you know what? It worked. And sometimes against some weaker competition, plays like that are really transparent to better players work against that weak competition.
And we're going to see a raise here by Mark. He's straddled. He's going to raise it out of the straddle spot with ace-jack off suit. Makes it 50 more to go here.
Hey, last time. Never mind.
Seat number 8 here, Eric is going to call with pocket 7s.
2 players.
And we are heads up here. So it's a $100 pot, a little more than 100. Mark with ace-jack against Eric with 7s. And that's a bad flop for 7s. Really good, probably, Mark's going to make a continuation bet here. Eric has the best hand, but how on earth would he ever know it?
It's a real tough spot there.
And this is, again, now, this case right here, you can look at it. It's similar to the case when, say you had 7s and the board came out Queen, Jack, Wrap. Well, someone always thinks, well, he's a pre-flop raiser. Maybe he has ace-king. So, I can raise in here with 7s and take one off. But remember, the best case scenario you're looking at is if the guy had ace-king, or in this case, he had ace-jack or ace-queen. He's got overcards and a gut shot. You really want to continue. That's the best case scenario, Dave. 50% of the time.
Right. Well, that's one of the problems with a lot of players when they realize they hear it from the World Poker Tour, they hear it from ESPN, and what they get, the information they get is, well, pocket 7s are favored over ace-king. Or ace-king is 50-50 against queens. And you've got to realize, yes, if all the money is in pre-flop and you turn your hand over,
and you get to see all 5 cards, right?
Pocket 7s will beat ace-king more often than not. The problem is power of position. There's also a lot of times if you don't hit your set when you have 7s or 6s or 5s, how are you going to play it when the flop comes out queen, jack, deuce?
Limped around here. Pre-flop. Mark played a weak ace there. He's going to bet out with ace-7, and he is going to take it down.
I mean, that's kind of that ideal world where we know what it is. Same reason people also make the mistake with ace-king where they go, well, even if the guy has jacks or queens, I'm 50-50. Well, that's only if you see all 5 cards, like you pointed out. And you've got to realize that if somebody has queens or jacks, they're not going to let you see all 5 cards. So obviously, both ways, you've got to start realizing that, yeah, in a perfect world, those percentages mean a lot. But in the world of poker, where things are not always perfect, you've got to realize that, power of position really is where it's at. And oftentimes, it's the pre-flop aggressor that does it.
So it looks like Barry Woods is joining on the thread. Now, we're going to tell the story, Dave. You were at the table. We'll get to it in a second about what happened Friday night after the show, huh?
All I know, it was an insane table. Barry actually left, and the game just got even better. I mean, believe it or not, Barry left the game, and the game got better.
Limped around here. Again, we're playing on a pretty passive table. 7-way action. It's a $35 pot. King 6-3 rainbow. Well, Jennifer limped in with 9s. Well, I got to tell you, with seat number 1, Peter and Kia on the button, she might raise that hand 2 off the button there, but she chooses just to limp. We're going to see a $35 bet out here by Mike with King Jack, and that is good. I'm sure Jennifer is not going to get involved.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with doing that, obviously, but you've got to realize that. See, some people always say, well, I'm not really interested in stealing the blinds pocket nines. I want to win a big pot. But sometimes the best way to win a big pot, oftentimes limped pots aren't big pots.
Yeah.
If you want to win a big pot, it's usually a raised pot pre-flop.
And we always talk about kind of the dilemma when people have emailed us in, and it's a good point of talking about limping in with pocket pairs. Because when you hit your set, you know, whenever you show any strength, Dave, and you try to build yourself a big pot, if you're against half-decent players, they're probably going to release top pair because they're not going to get involved in such a small pot.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
No, you're 100% correct there. I mean, if that flop had come out, say, king, 9, deuce, and some guy had king, jack, is he really going to lose his whole stack? He shouldn't, but you never know.
And that's a new player over there in seat number 6.
Mike.
And he's pretty solid, so I would imagine he's not even going to call Jennifer's raise with king, jack.
Yeah.
Flop. Limped around once again, jack, deuce, 4 here on the flop.
And one of my favorite things to do, obviously, with those pocket nines is you raise it pre-flop, maybe get a caller or two. And that way, hey, if you hit your set, it's already raised. If you don't hit your set, there's a good chance that they'll miss. They can check it to you. You can take it down anyway.
Now look at this. Now, Bill is let out with a flush draw. Mark is called with ace high with a gut shot to the 3. Well, the river's a king. Can Bill fire one more time?
Well, he's going to have to because Mark is the best hand.
Oh, I got to tell you, well, Bill kind of gave up on it there. I think that might be a great time, again, to bet there on the river because it is an overcard to the jack. Now, if Mark is going to call with the jack there again, remember, it got checked around on the flop, so if you call with a 5 or some sort of straight draw, it's, you know, it's that much more difficult to fire again when another overcard comes.
It's odd. I was trying to think of a hand that he might have because it was deuce 4-5 out there. I was trying to think if maybe he had a 3 in his hand.
Yeah.
But what would it be? 3 what? Because ace 3 was already a straight. So you'd have to be in there with some really odd holding like queen 3 or jack 3.
So kind of to make a long story short, there was a hand between Barry and Mike where Barry raised it pre-flop. So there was a raise pre-flop, and he was heads up against Mike, right? Or not heads up, but he ended up getting a lot of money, and he flopped top 2 and Mike flopped bottom set.
Right.
So the money all went in on the flop, right?
Right.
And Barry turned a full house, a higher full house. And that's basically the whole story. Limped around here 3 ways, ace 3, 4 here with a couple hearts. And you fill in whatever pertinent information because you were...
I'll throw it in there, yeah.
Yeah. Turn into 4. I was going to bet $10 here with deuces, and that hand is good right now. Can I take it down?
Anyway, okay, here it is. Mike, I believe I was on the button. Barry Woods in the, I believe, in the small blind. Mike in the straddle spot. Surprise, surprise. Barry actually raised it out of the small blind. Mike's mother called. Mike called. And I believe another player called, which brought me in as well. So the pot was already fairly big. The flop came out ace, king, deuce. Barry had ace, king. Mike had pocket deuces. You can imagine the fireworks, and both players were very, very deep. The betting was bet by Barry, raised by Mike right away. Then it was heads up. Everybody else folded. Re-raised by Barry. Mike said, I'm all in. Barry immediately called. The turn came a king. You know, I think Barry popped a boner right then and there. While Mike physically got sick right there. Oh, yeah. He looked terrible right there on the spot.
Well, Mike is really good at reading hands and knowing what...
Well, once a king comes off, there's nothing he can beat.
We talked about it on the phone, Dave. We had a long discussion yesterday about how, you know, Mike will really not push all in or commit all his chips all in. He rarely even does it on a big semi-bluff. He's going to think he has the best hand there. Now, I asked you, you know, do you think Mike would commit that many chips with ace-deuce or ace or king-deuce, hands that he might call a pre-flop raise with, knowing that ace-king, set of aces, and a set of kings beats him?
Right. Oh, the funny thing is, once the king turns, you know, Mike obviously, he knows he's beat. There's nothing he can beat now. There really is nothing. You know, you don't think Barry's moving all in with ace-jack or ace-queen. It just doesn't make any sense.
Raise here by seat 4 with ace-queen of clubs is going to take it down.
Anyway, Barry turned the hand over and said, ship it, mofo. And the war of words continued on and on and on until Mike actually physically threatened Barry. Trish actually even said to both of them, said, will you both shut up? Which I'd never seen Trish actually say. It was quite a moment. I actually thought I was going to have to get up and help try to restrain Mike from killing Barry. But needless to say, it was about a $15,000 pot that Barry took down. Quite a monster pot. And Barry was pleased as punch.
Peter's going to raise it up here. He's got ace-queen offsuit. He's going to make it 30 to go. And again, we're kind of dealing with a little bit of a tightish table here. Jennifer's just kind of got a jack rag. She's not going to get involved here in the blind.
But the game was absolutely insane on Friday night. That was just one of many, many hands.
That's true. I could be drawing.
You know, Shirley and I played in the tournament, the Omaha tournament, and both of us got knocked out right before the dinner break. So I made it a little bit further.
Wait, Shirley played in this one too?
Yeah, she did. And we
Oh,
all
she
had
did. Good
dinner
for her.
at that seafood restaurant at the Rio. Again, I never pronounce it. It begins with a B.
Buzios.
Buzios. With Mike Wu and Adam Schwartz from Rounders the Poker Show. And they were still in it, so they were on their dinner break. And Adam actually ended up cashing for about $5,800. Mike Wu got knocked out before the cash. Button moves over here to
And how is Shirley doing?
very well.
Good.
She says she's not going to really come back. She told me wasn't really planning to come back to Vegas until next year, obviously, for
Right.
reasons. But she's going to be back with a vengeance next year.
Well, it's great to see her doing well enough to be there.
Limped around here, Jack 7-4 with a couple of spades.
I believe Peter has the best hand here with Queen 7. But Mike's going to make a continuation bet. He's going to bet here with bottom pair. He's got backdoor clubs. And, to pass enough table, why not? He's going to take it up, take it down.
Shirley also said she's going to have the opportunity to, I think she said she normally has like treatments on Mondays. She's going to have the opportunity to postpone one day her treatment to come here at Legends and defend her $500 Omaha tournament that she won
Fabulous.
last year.
That's great.
So she'll get to play that one. And she definitely plans on playing that. If anyone remembers from last year, she won a nice bit of change there in that tournament.
Yeah, over 20,000
Yeah.
for that one. That was great for her.
Plus 70 with the smooth.
Did she play the ladies event?
I do not believe so. I'm not sure about
She's
that.
only been playing the Omaha event as well.
And the interesting thing is, I told you Saturday was such an interesting day in the World Series of Poker. There were two tournaments going on, but it wasn't that busy. 3,000 limit Hold'em and 3,000 Omaha Low. And the field in the Omaha High Low was larger than the limit field, Dave. Talking about how limit Hold'em is kind of fading away.
I mean, the funny thing is it's so skewed. I mean, we're talking about, it wasn't that large a field. It was only 500 people.
Well, 300 and 350.
Right,
Like that. Live straddle here.
And it got raised up
Yeah.
by Tony. He
Tony
had ace-queen.
Made it kind of a smallish raise to 30. Got called in 3 spots, so it's a $120 pot here. Well, it's missed the pre-flop raiser here. Looks like Eric might have the best hand with 8.
He does. He does. Actually, how about a set of 4s for Kia?
Ah, yeah, middle set.
Now, would you slow play this or you bet right into the raiser? At this table, if you're not deep, it's often correct to actually check raise. It all kind of depends on how deep you are. Now, both players are probably about $500 deep.
Well, now here's the decision for Eric. I say this is one of the most difficult decisions in No Limit Hold'em. Do you get involved here because you've got 2 people up front that might be sandbagging something, and you know what? He throws it away, Dave. And it's a really good laydown
Well,
in
you've
this
got to
situation.
realize, okay, yes, I can beat ace-king. I can
Right.
beat high clubs. But I can't beat an overpair. And I also cannot beat, if somebody is sandbagging behind me, a set or who knows, even something like ace-9 or 10-9.
Now, Kia is going to raise it to 200 here. Unlucky for him that Tony doesn't have anything, because, again, we always talk about in this game. Tony has kings or aces here. All the money's going in. You probably shouldn't fold aces or kings here on this spot.
No, now with 2 clubs out there, I
Yeah.
think it's just there's too much of a chance this guy could have something like ace-queen of clubs, king-jack of clubs, something like that.
Now, what Tony has to realize, though, is that Kia is short here. If he thinks that Kia is just making the play on him, some people would come back over the top. But even if Kia has any part of this and he moves all in, Kia might just call anyways because he's committed almost 60% of his stack with his
at
hand.
this table, I haven't seen anybody making a move yet.
Yeah.
Unless I get out of here and I go out on the table, I don't think anybody's going to be making moves all night. Turn would have been the 9 of clubs.
And it was an interesting little story that I haven't heard anybody talk about. Because the limit Hold'em table was going on, well, it started 2 hours before the Omaha. So you've got pros that have to choose between which tournament they're going to play it. Okay.
Right.
Negreanu was in the Omaha tournament. Barry Greenstein and Mimi Tran went over and played limit Hold'em. Hellmuth played the Omaha tournament. And
I
he's
actually
a
noticed
Hold'em
there were
special.
I actually noticed there were a
specialist.
bunch of players that played both.
Oh, okay. Maybe Hellmuth did play both. I don't know, but
Lindgren played both.
how is that possible?
Just went back and forth.
Yeah.
Played both. I don't
They
know.
allowed that to
Well,
happen.
How about Phil Hellmuth, though, he might be a Hold'em specialist, but he's at the final table of the Omaha 8 or better.
Yeah, and maybe he was trying to, play the Omaha to make a statement that he's trying to win his first non-Hold'em bracelet. And now
Really? He doesn't have a 9 hold'em bracelet?
Yeah, he doesn't.
No, wow.
Yep. 9-8-5 here on the flop.
You know, you got to hand it to Helmut, though. He really is, as much of an ass he is, he really is a phenomenal tournament player.
Absolutely.
A phenomenal tournament player. I mean, he just knows how to play tournaments.
Now,
he
Mark,
really does.
Mark led out here with top pair and a gut shot to the 7. And seat number 4 called with middle pair. Mark's going to lead again. And maybe Al was just trying to figure what Mark was going to do. Now he lays it down.
Right.
I just thought it was an interesting side story as, you know, what do we choose here? Same buy-in. What do the pros want to play? Limit, Hold'em, or Omaha High-Low?
Right. Hey, something that's kind of cool, actually. In the latest Card Player magazine, the one with the Circuit, cardplayer.com radio show hits prime time, that latest one, there's a whole article, obviously, about Scott Huff's show, The Circuit. And it's, right now, the host are actually Scott Huff with Gavin Smith and Joe Seabach. And a kind of cool little, they you know, talk about all the great shows they've had and everything. And they talk about the show highlights, where they talk about pretty much the 10 or 12 best shows. And, of course, very nice of them, they hyped up our show. February 25th, 2006, LA Poker Classic. Special guests David Tuckman and Bart Hansen from the webcast Live at the Bike discuss a variety of cash game considerations. A must-listen episode. So if you haven't heard that, you should probably go check it out after our show is over. Go over to cardplayer.com and check out The Circuit. Check out February 25th. Bart and I had about a 45-minute interview with Scott Huff. Thought it went really well.
Yeah, hopefully, you know, I think they're going to probably be doing some sort of remote thing. You know, they're at the Bellagio, Dave. I didn't really get word if they were going to move the show over to the Rio for the convention and all. But maybe, you know, even if they're still at the Bellagio, you know, we'll be able to hop on there for a couple minutes and we're back in there and do it.
I'm going to be at the Bellagio, so
Right.
that's where I'm staying. I don't know about you.
Jennifer's going to raise it up here. Now she's going to raise with 9s. Maybe she's making the adjustment. This is kind of a tightish table.
Hey, you can't blame me. You know, obviously, there's always kind of a learning curve for the players. Sometimes it's a mistake I make while I'm doing the commentary. You know, I always think, wow, the game is so passive. Why aren't these players playing it? Well, obviously, it's a lot easier for us to pick up on the fact that the table is so passive because we're seeing every single hand, and we see what players are throwing away. Give her about, you know, hey, 20 minutes later, she's figured it out, too.
Tonight, yes.
Button moves over here to seat number 4. Pocket kings here for the small blind.
And this game here, it's an easy raising hand. See, in a tougher game, you might sometimes in a tougher game, I got to tell you, I've come to a new thinking with kings and aces out of the big blind.
He is going to raise it up. A tougher game meaning you're going to be playing against players out of position that know that by you raising out of the big blind, you represent an overpair, and they are going to raise with a set or with nothing to put you to the test to try to get you to, you know, shy away from playing a big pot with one pair.
Depending on how deep you are, I have an interesting story I'll get to in a second.
Now, Kia called here with ace-7 of clubs. Now, he has hit a pair. And Mike is going to raise it up. And I want to use this hand as an example, what we were just talking about, Dave. I don't know if Kia is going to get involved. But if you raised here at a tough game with kings or aces, and you've got 4 or 5 people, might someone try to represent a 10?
Well, the funny thing is, let me ask you this, though. I was talking about before trying to represent, say, a 10.
Ooh, look at this, a third spade here on the turn.
If you really wanted to represent the 10, is the best way to represent it actually...
Wow, and it goes check on the turn, and the river's 5.
I got to tell you, I'm betting kings for value here. Wow, they check it down.
Kings are good. That is a major scare card for Mike if Kia wanted to use his position.
The 5 of spades.
And, yeah, you know, try to bet out the fact that he had a flush or that he just had a 10.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, oftentimes the funny thing is that I was just pointing out, you see that board there. 9 out of 10 players, if they have a 10, they'll smooth call and they'll raise on the turn. Now, you and I don't. But if we wanted to represent the 10, we'd almost have to go against our normal play. You have to realize what is the best way for me to convince that person of what I have. I had an interesting story and I forgot it. Damn. Getting old.
You got a $20 raise here with ace-10.
Obviously not interesting at all.
Actually, a $20 raise with pocket deuces. Ace-10 calls here, that kind of trouble-ish hand in a cash game out of C4. And here we go. We're heads up. Deuces against 10. Ace-10. Here we go to the flop. Well, deuces are in the lead here.
It's not a bad flop at all for deuces.
He's going to bet 45 here. And again, like we always talk about, if you're in a tough game and you have aces or kings and you get 3 or 4 callers, Dave, and we're all really deep, and the flop comes 7-6-4 with 2 diamonds and you've got 2 black aces, what do you do?
Well, it really puts you in a tough spot. You know, it's an interesting dilemma. You know, after watching some really players that have been playing no-limit hold'em cash games for a long time, obviously you and I have a lot to learn, and we're still learning. And we always will. And it's interesting. You know, if you start getting... I was playing in a 10-20 game, say about 2 weeks ago, and I had an interesting hand that actually developed with Barry Woods. Now, normally, if I'm only, say, 2,500 or 3,000 down, 3,000 behind, it wouldn't have been such a problem. I picked up a big hand out of the big blind, pocket aces. Okay? Now, normally, it's an easy spot to raise there because I'm not that deep. And if somebody's going to call, say, a $400 re-raise, they are not getting the right odds. Even if they stack me, they're not getting the right odds.
You make money in the long run.
Exactly.
Right.
But let's say now I'm $6,000 or $7,000 deep, which is what I was that day. You were at the table. Now you start raising with big pocket pairs like that in the blind, and you put yourself in a position where, wow, I can call a $400 raise. This guy's $7,000 deep. Can it be profitable? I know exactly what he has. Should I make the call with pocket 5s or pocket 8s?
Right.
And if you're against a tricky player who you think might bluff once in a while and might try to represent, it really puts you in a tough spot with just one pair, especially one big pair and a raised pot.
Now, Tony's got big slick offsuit. He's going to raise it up to 20 here with ace-king on the button. Peter's got 9s. Is he just going to call from up front? Jennifer comes in with queen 7 of diamonds here in the blind. Up and down suited, tough to play. We're going to see an $80 pot here. Tony, the pre-flop raiser. Well, there's the ace, and he has the king of spades, Dave. Ace, queen 10, top pair with the royal flush draw.
Yeah, that's a flop you can really go to war with. Any jack comes and you have the nuts. Any spade comes, you have the nuts. And you probably have the best hand right now.
Now, this is a little bit of a different situation when we talk about how sometimes people in a deep stack game, remember, all bets go out the window in this game because you're really not that deep. He really, you know, he has top pair and the nut flush draw. But if he receives the type of heat where he thinks another guy has a flopped flush, what do? You've got to know that your hand isn't good right now when considering to make the call or not, right?
Well, depending on obviously how the action goes. I mean, you don't want to be in a spot where you're calling off your chips with just a flush draw.
Right.
If you think somebody has a flop flush or, say, a set of 10s or something like that.
Right.
But I wouldn't be opposed to pushing with that hand. And if some guy had a set, even a set of 10s there, a jack is good for me, a spade is good for me. I have a lot of outs, and I'm going to put them to the test.
$20 raise here by Eric on the button. He's got pocket aces, and Peter makes the call with 4s. Peter is not that deep. Here we go to the flop. Well, 9-6-7 with a couple of spades. Is Peter just going to play this as a check fold?
I think so. Yeah, he does.
Yep.
You know, the interesting thing is, obviously, you have ace-king with the king of spades there. You also know your opponent can't have the nut flush because you have the nut flush draw. So you got to realize if you're very deep, how much heat will they give you? You know, if they bet, you raise, they re-raise, and now you re-raise them, they might really be put back on their heels as well.
5, so now I'm in for 7, okay?
Anyway, I was going to say, you know, oftentimes, like, see, the difference, one big difference between limit hold'em and no limit, I'll kind of bring this up right now. If you have pocket aces or pocket kings in the big blind in that game, I mean, I would say that it is a virtual raise 100% of the time, right?
Yeah.
Pocket aces in a limit hold'em game.
Right. Oh, yeah, for value.
For value.
Yeah.
But in no limit, you have to realize that, yes, you're raising for value with pocket aces or kings out of the blind. But at the price of what? At the price of giving away your hand, exactly what you have?
King 7-4 here with a couple of clubs. Mark throws a little bluff bet out, and Kia check calls with second pair. Well, the turn is another key. That's king. That's probably going to make Kia continue to stick around. And he's actually going to come and lead out here. He bets 20, and Mark calls. All Mark has is queen 9. He has no draw. And the river is a 10. Well, can he represent clubs now? I mean, he's going to have to bet the river here if Kia checks to him, right?
I'm assuming that's what he did it for, right?
And he just goes check, check. Wow.
I tell you, some of the times, some of the plays that Mark makes just don't make any sense to me. You know, a lot of times he always asks us for our advice, and I really, really like the guy. He's a nice guy. But to just call with a hand like that, I'm just not sure what exactly he's looking to do.
Now, it's interesting on the 2+2 board, people bringing up that Phil Hellmuth actually finished 5th today in the Omaha 8, and he's made 3 other World Series of Poker final tables. And the hand that he got knocked out with is against a gentleman by the name of Brent Carter. If anyone remembers, a couple of years back, him and Hellmuth kind of got into a little bit of a verbal tussle early on in the 2004 main event. Or I think the 2000.
I remember that, yeah.
I am very, very familiar with Brent Carter. I've played probably 40 hours of Cash Game Omaha with him, and we've kind of become, you know, somewhat friendly.
Right.
Very, very solid Omaha cash player and tournament player. I think he's got 2 Omaha bracelets. He cashed in the 5,000, and now he's at the final table here. He is a force in Omaha. Brent Carter.
Obviously, he knows how to play Omaha, especially tournament Omaha, which anytime you're taking your game from cash game to a tournament game, you've got to realize there are differences and there are adjustments to be made.
Peter raises it up here with Jack-9, and he takes down some dead money. No one's going to get involved against him.
Now, I hate to harp on this whole pocket aces or pocket kings thing out of the blind, but I'm going to ask you one question. And I can ask our viewers as well. You can email me with what you think. Or you can post it on 2+2. Maybe it's a conversation with people. But it gets a point. Let's say you're in a 10-20 no-limit game, and you get a raise by a pretty solid player in mid to late position. Okay? You get a call by somebody, and now it folds around to you. Now, the caller is a player like Corporation Mike. Now, it folds around to you, and let's say you're like $14,000 or $15,000 deep, and Mike has you covered. Do you want to raise it and give away what your hand is? Because remember, if Mike thinks, you got to realize that a player like Mike is tricky enough to bluff you also. And I'm just going to put that out there. If you are ultra, ultra deep, I'm talking $14,000, $15,000 deep, there's a $100 raise in there. Do you want to make it $400 with your pocket aces? Or would you rather just keep it, just call, and kind of play it tricky? See if you can get lucky enough to flop some sort of monster.
Ace, Jack, 5 on the flop here. The turn is another ace. Well, Tony has ace 9. He is going to bet. I think he checked the flop, and Mark is going to check call here. Tony did not bet the flop when he raised it pre-flop, I believe, with ace 9. The river is an 8.
And then once again, Mark check calling.
But he's going to bet for value here again.
Of course, why not?
Now, I missed that, Dave. I was peering down an email. I couldn't tell if Tony was the pre-flop raiser. I believe he was.
Yeah, he was the pre-flop raiser.
And he checked the flop.
He checked the flop. Then he bets the turn.
And Mark is going to call with the nut, no pair with king, queen, high. Oh, you know, if the flush got there, backdoor spades, he doesn't beat that. He doesn't beat the ace either.
And, I mean, maybe his thinking was, what is this guy betting? I don't think he has the ace.
Well, yeah, but could he have pocket queens or kings, check the flop once, and then he bet the turn, and now he value betted on the river with
Why not, right?
Yeah.
I don't... I'd play. Really, I'd play there.
We're going to take a look here, David, the first chip count of the night.
Okay.
Yeah, we're playing 300 to 500 no limit hold'em.
Almost $4,000 on the table.
Yeah.
Mark's got the table covered. He's got $730. Peter bringing up the rear. He's got $170 left. Let's see how they're doing. Yeah, Key is our big winner so far. He's up 240. Mark up 230, though. Tony up 120. Eric is down a full 500 already. And Jennifer, very uncharacteristic of her, she is down $200.
Make it 30.
$30 raise here by Kia. 5-6 offsuit here from seat 2.
So how many final... I mean, obviously there's a... Phil Hellmuth has a record for the most cashes in the World Series of Poker. He also has 9 bracelets. How many final tables has Phil Hellmuth made?
5 players.
Actually, more of a question is, how many final tables has Phil Hellmuth made, and how many tournaments has he entered?
Well,
that's what I want to know.
Yeah, I don't know if that information
I want to know
is
how many
available.
tournaments he has entered.
5-way action, it's a $150 pot. Now,
wow.
Bill called out of the blind with king-queen. He's going to lead here. Now, Peter is open-ended.
How about Tony's set of deuces there? It's a dream flop for him.
Set of deuces.
He's got a set of deuces with a king on board.
Now, the board is actually king, deuce, jack with 2 spades here, Dave. So it is a connected board.
Wow, and he is.
Yeah, he's going to raise it up big right away. Peter's easily going to get away from this open-end straight draw with a 2 flush out there.
Yeah, no, it's an easy laydown. And I imagine Bill's going to get away from it, too. You got to realize if you're Bill here, you can't beat ace-king, you can't beat king-jack. Not much you can beat here. if the guy has something like ace-10 of spades, well, he's got a lot of outs. I mean, do you really want to go to war with a hand like king-queen?
I think what Peter's trying to figure out is he so short that he can put this money in for less and be getting the 2-to-1 that he needs?
I think he's getting about 3.5 to 1.
Well, there is a 2 flush out there, and that's what he's got to be thinking. He's not even going to get involved.
He's clearly getting the odds if he knows that the players don't have a flush draw.
Right.
But how does he know that? I mean, one of the players could easily have, say, ace-10 of spades right here.
But the other issue, though, that's interesting there with Queen 10 is, do you disregard the 2 flush on board because you put Tony on a big hand like, say, 2 pair, and you don't think anyone's going to come in, so you don't mind it being heads up because you don't think anyone's going to come in with the flush draw unless Tony's raising on the come with the flush draw.
Well, the problem is, though, if you then move in, the player behind you with the flush draw
he's gonna even
might now have the odds to call.
So.
You might actually bring that flush draw in.
Turn was an offsuit. No.
Was it?
Peter would have gotten there. But, again, not a bad laydown at all.
No, yeah, with the 2 flush out there, I think you can pick a better spot.
Got a PM here by Haydog saying, how many days is the Lifestyles Convention that you guys are going to be doing? And Dave, it's 5 days.
Yep.
And I believe it starts on Thursday, July 27th.
You are correct.
And goes until Monday, the 31st. And we will be there in force, sharing a booth with adult poker parties. So check us out. And we're going to be having webcasts there. Dave, we're going to be doing interviews, streaming interviews. That stuff will all go up online.
That should be great.
At our website.
Don't worry, we'll get plenty of shots of the porn stars.
Yeah.
Feast your eyes upon.
5-way action here. It's linked around. Jennifer did not raise with ace-queen from up front. Well, she's hit the queen. Now, C4's got king-7 of hearts. He's got a flush draw. She's going to bet 40 out here. Let's see if Al gets involved. And he calls. He's got 1 overcard here. And Bill also overcalls, Dave, with second pair with a king kicker. Well, if Al hits a king, it's no good because Bill has king-8 right now. Jennifer in the lead with ace-queen. Turns a 5. She's going to bet again. She does have the ace of hearts as well.
She does.
And Al's going to continue to call here.
And that should probably be the cue for Bill to get out of there, huh?
Now, I got to tell you, I'm looking at Al's stack. He's got about 110 left. This pot is big enough where if a non-heart comes on the river, I'm moving all in for value. Oh, but the river's a 9 now, Dave, 9 of hearts.
And he immediately moves all in.
And she folds. And a quick check fold by her, even though she had the ace of hearts in her hand. Again, when you kind of build yourself a pot up, and you don't have to worry about in this kind of shortest stack game, she doesn't have to be really worried that much about being out of position with 1 pair there because he doesn't have that much left. It almost smells like he's calling with king, queen, queen, jack. She can move all in for value on the river. Now, as if I was playing in a 5-10 game earlier this afternoon, Dave, I had raised out of the blind with ace-king. I hit a king. Once I made a nice big continuation bet on the flop, and a guy called me, I'm almost somewhat forced to check the turn.
Yeah.
To kind of keep the pot small and see what he does.
No, definitely. A lot of times, ace-king in no-limit hold'em, ace-king in really any hold'em game is one of the most misplayed hands I see time and time again. Interesting hand there. We always talk about the flush draw. We always say, well, I can go for my flush because I have the implied odds. If I hit, hey, I can put $100 and get paid. But you've got to realize, we always point out that the flush is such a transparent hand. Everybody always sees it. They look for that heart. And when a heart comes and you hit your flush, you don't get that extra $100.
Now look at this, a raise here by Mark with ace-deuce of spades, a mini re-raise by Al. And Mike calls. I don't know if Mike has the odds to call here because I don't think Al is deep enough. But Mike does make the call. And is Mike going to get in trouble here?
Well, the funny thing is, though, in this one case, you've got a cut-off raise, right? Now, we know he has jacks. But how does Mike know he has jacks?
Now, look at this. Mike now checks, and Al moves all in with jacks. Now, Al has really played this hand like he has an overpair. Mike cannot, he has the lowest overpair, and he can't beat a set of 7s here, Dave. He can only really beat ace-king, and he makes the right fold.
Yeah. But, you got to realize, though, you say, like, okay, Mike doesn't have enough money to call to hit his set. Yeah, of course. But how do you, are we just immediately assuming, well, the guy's raising in the cutoff seat, he has to have a pair higher than ace?
But there was he actually was the re-raiser. It was a raise and a
re-raise.
Oh,
I missed that, okay.
So, it makes a big difference there.
Good point. No, obviously.
Yeah.
I thought it was just an original raise.
No,
okay.
No,
I thought it was one raise and going, wait a second, this guy couldn't have ace-jack or something like
Mark
that?
raised, and he actually made like kind of a mini-ish re-raise, so.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Well, give Mike credit for throwing the 8s away, realizing that they probably were no good.
And again, when you have aces and kings, say you're in suit 4 with that spot, and a guy check raises you all in, it's an automatic call because they could be doing it with 9s, 10s, jacks, 8s, something like that.
Of course. Not even a question.
Yeah. Kia brought it in here for 20 with ace-king, and C4 is called with kind of that trappish king-jack. He is dominated here. Well, not a bad flop for king-jack. He's open-ended. He's got the king of diamonds, and Kia's got the ace of diamonds. 10-9-8. Kia has totally whiffed. He is going to bet.
He's still a favorite here, though, because they share the king.
Yeah. He bets 35.
And for Al, obviously, a jack, a queen, or a 7 would do it. And he is going to just call, it looks like.
Yeah, he makes the smooth call.
And there's a 7. That's a straight card.
Yeah. Al's got the straight there with the jack. And again, you know, we talked about straight draws being not as transparent as flush draws. Well, this one is pretty transparent.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious. Now, the reason why Al is not 100% is because a jack could come off and they could chop it up.
Yep.
But Kia cannot win this hand. He can only chop it.
$75 bet here. Kia checks on the turn. And I do not believe that Kia is going to get involved here.
And it's one of the reasons why this game here, like you look at this game, which is our prototypical 3-5 game with 5-5 blinds, it's not a terribly difficult game to beat, is because you don't see that many players making moves. You don't see players betting on the come, raising on the come, making big semi-bluffs. Generally, it's I'm going to call you at my draw, I'm going to call you at my draw. Oh, I got there. Okay, now I'll bet.
Yep.
Makes it a lot easier to read players. Now, obviously, we just talked about that last hand there with seat number 4 where Al had pocket jacks, or even if he had pocket aces there. It's very easy to play pocket aces or pocket kings when you only are $300 or $400 deep, right? Because you make a raise large enough where even if somebody calls you, they are incorrect in calling you. My question still pertains on what do you do if you are super deep in relation to the blinds?
Pocket aces here for Mark in seat number 3. And he's going to bring it in for 20 bucks. Well, Mike has got 9s over there.
Okay, all I have to do is not fold any cents.
And he makes the call. And wow, now we're going to see this 4 ways, Dave. $80 pot. Mark the pre-flop raiser with aces. Well, Jack 8-6. Is Mike going to get involved here with 9s? Again, a tough spot. And Mark is going to lead forward big. He's going to bet a pot size $80 bet here. And again, you look at 9s here on this board. Really tough decision to make. He does have 2 people in front of him. Do you want to get involved here with 9s?
Like you said, it's one of the most difficult spots. It really is. You know, there's only one overcard to you. It just puts you in a tough spot because if you call this bet, well, then what's going to happen on the next bet? What's going to happen on the next street?
I got to tell you, you know, Mike hasn't played on the show all that much, but, you know, sometimes I'm hanging around and waiting to play the 500, and I play him 3-5. Always seemed to me to be a pretty solid player. I haven't really seen anything that would change my opinion of that so far tonight.
No, he's a pretty solid player. He really is.
You know, it's funny, too, that I kind of give him a hard time sometimes because sometimes on a Friday night, Dave, I'll go out there and the 3-5 game will be very, very deep or very, very good because there's a couple chunks on the table and we're very, very deep. So I kind of half casually say to the table, does anybody mind if I buy him for $2,000? And he always objects. Mike. He's like, no, that guy got all my money. You can't come in and get my money. I'm like, how am I going to come in and get your money? You only have 500 in front of me. But he's like, no, that guy has my money, and I know if you come in, you'll get it. I want to get it back.
Hey, it's a good point. You know what? I got to tell you, if I'm in that game, Bart, you know, and I hope this was, don't let it go to your head, but I don't want you to have a lot of money either.
Right.
You know, hey, if Dimitri comes in, I'll let him buy in for $10,000.
Right.
But why would I let a good player buy in for more than he can? I'd rather you be hamstrung.
Seat number 4 going to raise it up here with pocket 9s. He's going to take it down. Already through the first hour of the show.
Yeah, he's a pretty solid player now. I remember playing 3-5 with him a couple of times, and I really, really thought he was a solid player. Then he moved up to the $500 game. And if there was ever a weakness in his game up there was, it just looked to me like, it happens with anybody moving up a level. It just looked like he was a little bit less comfortable.
Yeah, because I haven't seen him play in the 5 game in a while now.
Well, he was just a little bit. No, the 3-5 game for him was someplace where he was really comfortable.
Right.
It was his comfort zone, just like as it was for you 6 months ago.
Right.
And it took you a while to get comfortable in the 5-10 game. You know, now you look at it where the 5-10 game is someplace you're really comfortable. The 10-20 game, you're just starting to get comfortable.
Right.
You know, and it's kind of that evolution. And I'm sure Mike is a good enough player that if he plays the 5-10 game enough, he'll start dominating that game as well.
Well, it's a live straddle here, and Peter's going to play a little short stack poker. There's about $40 in dead money. He's pushed here with ace-8. Ace-8 of hearts. Mark is the straddler. Is he going to call with 7-9 of hearts? Well, now, again, the issue here for Al is, does he call with pocket fours? I got to tell you, when Peter pushes, even if it's short, I think it's an easy laydown for fours. I think that Peter probably has an overpair to my fours 70-80% of the time, and then maybe it's a race another 20 or 30.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, pocket fours. I'm just not looking to get
But
involved.
Mark calls with 7-9 of hearts. Wow, 95 more. Well, Peter's going to be about a 62-38%
Probably even
here.
more than that because the hearts are dominated.
Dominated. Go to the flop. Yeah, and Mark hits a 9 here.
And Peter needs an ace here or running hearts.
Now Mark. Is
He
Peter
needs a 10.
He needs a 10
Or an ace.
River is a deuce.
A 10 would have been a straight. Oh, the ace obviously is no good. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the ace is no good because Mark had 2 pair there on the turn.
Just a 10.
Yeah.
And Mark, I mean, just there to gamble, you know. And this is the interesting thing, and there's nothing wrong with playing it this way. Obviously, the majority of people that come to the bike or play in any casino are playing for fun.
Right.
And any of you that are playing for a living have to realize that they're here just for recreation. There really is no point in kind of berating them when they make a bad play. Anyway, having said that, the only reason we bring this up is because Mark has come up to us and actually asked for our advice.
Right.
And it's just funny because sometimes I'm not quite sure why he plays. Is he playing it for fun, for recreation, or is he trying to make money doing it, or a little of both? Because obviously, when you call an all in for $100 with 9-7, I'm assuming you're just there to just let's gamble, let's have a good time. Nothing wrong with that. I don't begrudge it.
And
it's just not a play that a professional player would make.
Mark is going to raise it up here with 7. It's got an interesting email here by Tony Lukin, and I'll get to it in a second. And look at this, Mike is called with the same hand. Well, chances are these guys aren't going to hit a set of 7s.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. Now, this one is going to get interesting because if it gets heads up, if Mark continues to make the continuation bet, he has the betting lead. He should win this hand because the flop is going to miss both players automatically.
Sure enough, yeah.
And there it is.
Well, both players have a draw.
It's not a bad flop for 7s, though. 9-8-5.
Mark is actually free rolling. He can catch running diamonds, and he's going to make a continuation bet. Nice, strong bet there. And I'm not sure if Mike is going to get involved here.
Boy, Mike has got himself into this situation a bunch of times here with this kind of middle-ish pocket pairs on a board where you wonder it's a tough spot. Either you continue or you don't continue. He's laid it down now twice. Is he going to continue on the third time?
Well, you know, though, Mike does not have the same respect as he does for some everybody else as Mark, I don't think.
For Mark, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. I think he thinks he might have the best hand here.
Well, Mark is very aggressive with re-raising out of the blinds and raising out of the blinds.
Yeah.
He might make this move with ace-4.
Ace-5 good? That's for nuts.
And Mike has Mark is a 5 good.
Well, he knows if a 5 is good, a 7 is good.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if 6-7 is good. 6-7 is no good? I'm not sure. I want to call my hand. Okay.
Well, just a... Well,
Wow, that was interesting. He goes 6-7's no good. Mark said, I'm not sure, and then he immediately called. That got him to call. Now, both players have to hate the king. I'm sure Mike's got to really hate that king.
Yeah, I got to tell you, if Mark fires again here, the way that Mike played this, I think he's going to fold. I'm not sure if calling there on the flop is the right play. If you think you're good, do you push there on the flop?
Yeah,
because it's this game, remember, it's a short stack game.
Well, I have to agree with you because you look at this board, with the exception of a 6, what card, and he said
I should have raised you on the flop, yeah.
Because what card could come off that you like?
And now he gets away from it.
You don't want to see an ace. You don't want to see a king. You don't want to see a queen.
And look at that. The river's a 6, Dave. 6 of diamonds.
You don't want to see an ace. You don't want to see a king. You don't want to see a queen. You don't want to see, say, like a... You don't want to see a 10. You don't want to see a diamond. I mean, there's just too many cards you don't want to see.
Now, that's a great, it's an interesting river card there for some reason. If the action got to the river, say the turn went check, and the river's a 6 of diamonds, completing both players' straights. But you wonder if Mark, because it's a 3rd diamond, might check the river, or if he bets the river, if he puts a weak bet in, can you push and get him off the same hand?
Yeah, in this game, it's really tough, obviously, because neither player's deep. But when you start talking about a bigger game, it really becomes fun.
I'm going to tell you, if Mark checks the river when the 6 of diamonds comes, it's an easy push with pocket 7s.
Oh, of course.
Easy.
Well, you don't think he has a 7.
Right.
The odds of him having a 7 are pretty slim.
Pocket queens here for Peter. He's going to raise it up. Wow, I'm surprised Mark is going to call here. Might be a little bit tilting with ace-5 here. King 4-4 on the flop. Now, might Mark call Peter knowing that he might be able to get him off of a hand? Is he going to make a move here? It's a $40 bet here. No, he's not even going to get involved.
Yeah, nothing there.
Yeah.
So you can get this email here by Tony Lukin. Pocket kings or aces, what my question I threw out to
He
everybody.
said, hate to sound childish, but I'd rather win a small pot than lose a big one. Generally, I re-raise, find out how good they really are. And I think the point that I like the email, Tony, I understand where you're going with it. But sometimes, Dave, at the levels that we play at when we're really deep, you can never really re-raise an amount if you're really deep with the blind sizes that we play, where somebody who's cagey might not call with a hand that has
Of
extreme
course not.
implied
What am I
odds.
going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, it just becomes a problem where if I'm in a 10-20 game and I am $13,000 or $14,000 deep, and a guy makes it $100 to go, and I want to re-raise, what am I going to make it? $3,000?
$1,500, which
I
would
mean-
be, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
but it's ridiculous. You wouldn't do it with kings because you're only going to get called by aces.
Right. So that's obviously the inherent problem. Kind of
Right.
the paradox.
And if you
of
make it 400 or
Right.
500, which is a big re-raise, well, then the player with, say, pocket fives now knows what you have, and they can call and try to break you.
Or they can definitely define your hand down to, 2 or 3 specific hands.
Exactly.
Especially if you're a predictable player as well.
Well, obviously, and obviously it's one of the reasons why you want to be raising out of the blind with, say, if you only raise out of the blind with aces and kings, you could be in a lot of trouble. One of the reasons why once in a while you want to raise out of the blind with, say, ace-king, ace-queen. You might even want to mix it up every once in a while with 7-8.
Now we get a raise here by Kia. He's got pocket jacks.
Any more? Yes, sir. Yeah. First one about $15 a month. And we'll watch
Well, here we go for
every episode of our show.
And Mike is called here with 5s, and Tony's in there with king, queen. Not a great flop here for Kia. Now let's see if he's going to make the continue. Well, this Tony is going to represent an ace here. He's going to bet right out. He's going to lead out into the field. Again, that is kind of a troublish hand to play, but now he's going to bet out and represent an ace here.
Well, why not play it aggressive? You know, he's probably one of the most aggressive players at the table. You saw him limping in on the button with Jack-6 just to take it away from the table. And it'll probably work here. You know, Mike, obviously not a good flop for 5s.
Yep.
Now, according to Pauper Boy over on 2+2, he says, okay, all-time winnings for Phil Hellmuth, over $3 million, $3,600,000.
Yep.
Number of cashes, 47 now. I think he's got another 3 this time, right? Oh, actually 4, so 9 bracelets, top 10 finishes, 33.
Right, those figures didn't reflect this year included.
Right. My question, though, is, basically my question is, how many final tables does he have, or how many money finishes does he have? But the more pertinent question I have is, how many tournaments has he entered?
Yeah.
How many World Series events has he entered? What is his percentage? So I want to know, obviously, Phil Hellmuth, I think, as much as we can all agree that he's an ass, I don't think anybody can disagree and ignore the success he's had on the tournament circuit.
Yeah.
He's obviously a force out there. Now, if you were to argue that he is one of the best tournament players out there, I'd love to know what his success rate is. Kind of as the, raise the bar and see where you stand there. If you kind of look at it and go, well, I cash in 18% of my tournaments. What does Phil do? Maybe somebody can help us out with that one.
Now we're going to see a bet out here by Tony. He's got Queen Jack
He's got top pair.
and the small blind.
Now, seat number 6, Mike, on the button, he's got a Queen 7 suited. Is he going to get involved? No, he throws it away. Now, seat 2.
Yeah, Kia actually raised there. He raised with 5-6, and you know what? Tony is not going to get involved with Queen Jack, and you don't really blame him.
He had got 2 players off the queens.
Yeah.
2 players that flop top pair, and neither one calls the raise.
Yeah.
Nice play by Kia there.
Putt moves over here to seat 7 to Tony. It is just a very impressive record. Again, I don't know if they keep track. I've never seen
Of course,
any.
they have record of every single tournament you've entered, the World Series.
Back in the days when they were writing it out on paper.
I believe they do.
Well, okay, but the point I'm making is I've never seen
I've never
anybody
seen
say
it.
it. It would be a very nice statistic to have.
I'm just.
You know.
I'm curious.
They would definitely be able to easily do it now when everything is computerized with your reward card.
That's simple. Yeah. My question really is, when you look at players like Daniel Negreanu Alan Cunningham, Phil Hellmuth, those kind of players, the players that are the most successful tournament players on the circuit today, what is their success rate?
Now, Mike raised it up here with ace-jack of hearts. Tony called with fours. Mike makes the continuation bet. Is Tony just going to call here? He's going to raise with fours. Is he going to put Mike to the test here a little bit?
He makes it 100 to go. He makes it 60 more to go.
Boy, Mike just feels like, it's just not his night so far tonight, Dave.
Yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes it's almost like a shark pool, where if one guy is getting beaten up on, sometimes it gets to the point where the entire table starts to kind of feed on them, They see that person is vulnerable. It's one of the reasons why a lot of professional poker players, if they're playing in a cash game and they've taken a few bad hits, and they've gotten caught with a bluff or so, and their table image is such that it's really bad, sometimes they will get up and leave, either go to another casino or change tables.
Pocket aces here for Bill in seat number 5, our new player. Haven't heard from him much. He's going to raise it to 20. Boy, the standard raise here in this game has not been that much.
Well, this guy's only got $300, though. $20 is not bad at all.
Now, Eric is going to call with ace-queen of diamonds, and Mike is in there with a little suited connector, 3-4 of hearts. Here we go to the flop. Wow, monster flop here. Actually, Eric has got ace-queen offsuit here. And Bill is going to make the $50 continuation bet with aces.
How about a flop for 4-3 there? He's open-ended. Now, it is hearts, and there are 2 diamonds out there.
Can he represent a diamond, though, if it gets heads up? That's the question.
Yeah. Eric's going to get out of there. Now, Mike, if an ace falls, he's good. If a 6 falls, he's good. And if a diamond falls, can he represent?
Turn is an 8 here.
Well,
and now Bill moves all in.
Bill's going to take all the play out of it here.
Now, I want to leave this board up for a second, because the more and more I play deeper stack no limit, we can leave this board up here, the more and more I think it is sometimes proper, or sometimes you are forced to check the turn with aces here, even if it is heads up in a deeper game, Dave. If you're against a cagey player that sometimes might play it tricky, might sandbag a big hand. Now, you are perpetually or sometimes giving up a free card there, but do you really want to build the big pot up? If you lead big on the turn and get raised, can you continue on with your aces, 3,000 or 4,000 deep?
If you're behind, though, Bart. I got to tell you, obviously there's always a place for it, but what are you going to do, check, and then you're inducing a bluff, and then if the guy is sandbagging something, well, he's going to bet anyway. Then what do you do?
You might check call and see what the river action is talking about.
Okay, so you check call, and then the river comes, and now you check, and now he bets big, and then what do you do?
Well, Jennifer's got aces here, and she's going to raise it up here.
How about pocket queens for seat number 3, Markson?
Yeah, he's in the straddle spot. He might push here, Dave.
Yeah,
he might push here. Now, can he correctly identify that it's Jennifer raising him, not trying to necessarily steal?
It is Jennifer raising on the button, though.
You're raising my shot. So here's the 40.
And he is going to raise. Now, if you're Jennifer, would you ever just smooth call this? Remember, you're in position. This is a place where I think it's an easy smooth call.
She's got 350 left. It might just not matter, Dave, because the pot might get so big it doesn't make any difference.
Oh, I got to play. I smooth call this. He's made it 100 more. I think it's an easy smooth call.
Yeah, she's not going to, but she's misplayed it.
You know what I mean, though?
Absolutely.
Because right now he should fold.
Yeah, absolutely.
I understand you're saying, well, it's only 200 more. He should easily fold this.
I thought that he was going to make it a lot more, and I thought that it was just it was easy. But at that point, when he re-raises it 100, see, this is a part of Jennifer's game where I don't think she's necessarily up to that level. I think we always talk about this is a mistake, even at this level. She does not need, she has aces or kings here.
It also depends how much money you have. If you want to build up a pot and you've got $1,200, it's a little different.
Right.
She only has 200 more.
And again, sometimes
no matter what the flop comes, Mark is going to move in on the flop, right?
Or he's going to commit an amount that is going to get him committed to the hand, especially if queens are an overpair.
He's not going anywhere. There's no way.
There is no way he should call here.
No, it's an easy laydown. Yeah. Jennifer has re-raised your re-raise.
Yeah.
After her original raise, she has minimums here, aces or kings. There's no way she has jacks. There's no way she does this with ace-king.
No.
She just doesn't do it. And look at this. He's going to lay this down, and she cost herself $220.
Yep.
And we get a shot at Jennifer there. What kind of reaction she's got here. There we go. She looks kind of nonplussed there.
And he calls, and that is such an easy laydown with queens.
It really is. It's an extremely easy laydown.
Yeah.
He showed the cards.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like to show my cards sometimes, but hopefully you get a good read out of it. Mark obviously got the wrong read, and he needs a queen and only a queen here.
Yeah.
He's in bad shape.
Oh, look at that. It's a queen. Unbelievable.
Well, you know what? What can you do?
Yeah, she needs an ace here on the river. Not going to come. But again, we're not talking about the results.
Is there anybody on this table who doesn't know what I have? Okay.
And look at it. Anybody at the table doesn't know what I have.
Well, that's the whole point, though. She summed it up right there.
Right.
In a nutshell. But again, though, I'll talk to her about it after the show. In that situation with that re-raise amount, we always say it. She defines her hand so much by re-raising there that she has got to realize that other people know what she has because of the action. Even though he called anyways.
Right. No, definitely. And you know what? Obviously, you can make the argument. She can say, well, if I re-raise and Mark was using his brain, Mark should have folded and I would have won the pot. But I got to tell you, I don't mind him going in there as a 4-to-1 dog.
Yeah.
I want him committing all his chips. And that would have happened, and he would have moved all in, I would have called with my aces, and I would have lost. But I only have 200 behind. It's not a big deal.
Right.
If I have $3,000 or $4,000 behind, I've got to play the hand differently. I'm amazed that Mark called that re-raise, though. Aren't you? Absolutely amazed.
Absolutely.
I mean, the pot was...
Mark's got aces now, and now Al has queens. And we got a raise here by Al, and Mark has now re-raised out of the blind. He's going to re-raise with aces.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This is unreal. And now he is just going to smooth call with the queens.
Now Al is a little bit deeper, so the re-raise is not that bad of a play here by Mark. But again, he could have played it cagey as well, and all the money might go in now.
It's a different thing, though. Mark is out of position.
Yeah.
I think position is a big factor here. And it's all the money's going to go in. And in the span of 2 hands, Mark doubles up here. And look at this. His queens beat the aces, and now his aces are going to beat queens.
Well, unless Al gets really lucky here. Turn is a king.
Unbelievable.
Al needs a queen. Does not come. Mark actually makes a straight at the end.
Yeah. And look at that, the tail of 2 hands there.
Yeah.
And see, when you're out of position, I'm more apt to raise with my pocket aces than smooth call, because you've got to remember there are a lot of hands I will smooth call with. I might smooth call with a big pocket pair like aces or kings. I also might smooth call with a small pocket pair.
Right.
I might even smooth call with, say, a hand like 6-5 suited if I'm deep enough. But how many hands am I going to re-raise with? Man. Really puts you in a tough spot.
That is not true. I would never rather be lucky than good. I'd rather be good with a lack of bad luck.
Get an interesting email here from Tom. He says, hey, I just signed up, but I'm just wondering, when I'm ready to cancel, how do I go about it? And I'm going to let you know, you will never want to cancel. If you just signed up, our show is so damn good, you won't want to cancel. You'll be addicted, okay? It'll be like a drug.
Check here on the flop. Turn is a 10.
Of course you wouldn't have called. You've seen me before.
Check again, and looks like the river is an ace. King high is good here. Now, is Mark going to take a little shot at it? He's not.
Okay, interesting email here from Steve. And he says, hey,
Marzalowski. I can pronounce that. Marzalowski.
Pretty good, yeah. I think if you have aces in the blinds in your deep stack with a player like Mike, a laggy, aggressive player who's very good and tricky, I believe you need to raise a larger amount. Like, say, with the 25-50 game. Make it 300 or 400. Even though you're giving away your hand, it's much better to win the pot right there than play it passive and lose the pot. If you get called, the pot is now bigger pre-flop, so on the flop, you can make a bigger bet to take that bluff away from an aggressive player. Like Mike, since he would have to put in a lot of money with a bluff. I think you can pick better spots to play aces tricky than the blinds. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for the email. So the problem that I have with that email, the problem that I'm trying to cure is, if you make it $400 pre-flop and you get a call from a guy like Mike, well, the pot is now about 1,000, let's say, okay, with your dead money. Now the flop comes out 9 high, 9 deuce 4, okay, and you have pocket aces. Let's say you bet pot size bet, you make it $1,000, and Mike makes it 4,000. Well, then what do? Are you just going to move it all in there? Hope he has kings, queens, or jacks? Are you ready to commit your entire stack? Remember, everybody knows what you have.
Look at this, Mike. Flop the nut straight, and what a terrible turn card for him. He did not play the flop hard. He check-called the flop. The turn is the 7 of hearts.
Well, is he going to get action from Tony? Tony's got the ass end of the straight.
Well, Mark here has continued to just bet out on the queen 5, and Tony, he's got the nut flush draw now with the ass end of the straight. He's probably going to at least call. Let's see what he does.
Yeah, and Mark has absolutely nothing. I don't know what he's doing in the pot.
Well, he makes the call, and the river is a 5. Well, Mike is going to win it here with an 8.
Now, Mark has made trip 5s.
But it's a one-liner to the straight.
They checked it all to Mark. Is he actually going to bet?
Yeah, he's going to bet 85 here.
That's insane.
Well, I think that Mike is going to at least call and hope that it gets chopped up. Look at Mike. He's thinking, what is going on?
Well, he can't beat a full house.
Yeah.
He can't beat a flush. He can't beat 8-9. And he
lays it down. He lays it down, and now it's back over to Tony with the bottom end.
Remember, there's a player behind him still. And I can't believe this. I got to tell you, I really thought he was just gift wrapping this $85 and giving it to him. But he has bet 85 into about a $150 pot, and I think he's going to win this. I don't think Tony can call.
Yeah, we were reading in that email. It looked to me there, I don't know if we get confirmation from Ronnie, did Mike check call the flop in seat 6? So he played it slow, and it just got worse and worse from him with 7-8 of clubs, and he lets it go.
Well, the
on
7
the
of
river.
hearts is the worst card in the entire deck for him. I mean, you know, he's got the one-liner now, but he can't beat a flush. It's the heart that you're scared of. You're not really scared of 8-9, or you're scared of a full house. Now, Tony really only has a bluff catcher. You wouldn't think Mark would be betting trip 5s here, right?
No, not at all.
You wouldn't think that. You'd think that Mark either has nothing, like, say, ace-8, something like that, or he has an absolute, like a full house or a flush. And Tony really thinking about, what can I beat here?
It's an $85 pot into about a $220 pot, so $85 bet, so it's a $300 pot, only $85 to call. And look at this, he makes the call. And Mike is going to be disgusted when Tony, look at Mike's face with ace. Wow, and he gets up there, Dave. Unbelievable. He can't believe it. Tony calls with the bottom end of the straight. And remember, like I said, I think what it was the bet was so small. Yeah, $85 bet into a $220 pot. $300 pot, 85 to call.
That's why I didn't understand the bet. I just didn't. I was like, what are you trying to? What can you get called by? What are you going to get? You think somebody with 7-6 is going to call you? He's saying he really thought he was good?
Apparently so.
Wow. Unreal. I mean, I understand betting the turn if you think you're good. You bet the turn, don't give anybody a free card. But on the river, I got to tell you, I'm checking it down when I make trip 5s there. Hoping I'm good. Hoping everybody missed. Wow, look at that. And Tony takes down a nice-sized pot there.
And there's Dave Kelsey, man, sporting a shaved head. See number 4.
Yeah, wow.
Got a raise here by Kia. We're not going to have any action.
I think Kelsey apparently, I think he just got a new part in Angels in America.
You know, I got to tell you, I thought that Michael, here's the reason. I always like betting my main hands, Dave, on the flop, but I don't have a big problem if I'm Mike there, playing that flop actually as a check raise. We always talk about if it's a very connected board, even though you have the nuts, I really don't mind a check to force a big pot there and really put somebody, to the test. Just like playing it if I had played 2 pairs.
Yeah,
it's the nuts, but if you come out and bet only 30, people might call you with all kinds of stuff. But if you play it as a check raise, that might be the best way. I can't believe you just check called.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of different ways to play that hand, obviously.
I mean, you might play that as a check raise, 7-8 of clubs there, right?
You might. I mean, you could do check call, see a safe card, and then bet out, lead out. I mean, different ways to play it, obviously.
We talk about that, but I think that a hand like the nuts on the flop is too strong in a shorter stack game to just make a check call. I was talking about an ass end of it. Say that flop came out 4, 5, 6, right? Say it had deuce 3 of clubs. That's a time where you might do something like that, and then you can easily get away from it now that the turn is a 7 of hearts. But if you flop the nuts, I think that's just a little bit too passive.
No, definitely. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Especially in a short stack game when you only got a couple $100.
Right.
You don't want to let a scary card come off, and then by chance, not only a scary card come off, but the scary card actually does not complete anything for your opponent, and you get scared out of the pot.
Right.
And that's the worst mistake there, because that was about a $300 pot that Mike gave up, because he scared himself. Because it just got worse and worse and worse for him. Oh, this is great. Get an email here from Live at Chuck Gatlin. He says, more powerful orgasms with more powerful and bigger dick from Penis and Large Patch. How do I pick that up?
Peter has got top 2 pair here. And he checked it, Dave. Well, it's a kind of a rainbowish board. It is a rainbow board. Well, the turn's 10.
Well, that's a terrible card. Just in case somebody had king queen there, you've now gotten him there.
Well, do you let somebody with jack 10 catch up and win some money, though? I mean, that might be his case for saying.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Somebody have jack 10? No.
No, it doesn't look like it. Is Tony going to get involved here with 10-8? Wow, he makes the call.
I just always point out when there's, if I have 2 pair and it's Broadway 2 pair, I don't usually like to give up a free card just in case somebody's got, in this case, queen 10, king queen.
Well, the river's a 3 here. I got to tell you, if Peter bets out one more time, it's such an easy laydown here for Tony. I'm shocked that Tony even called because Peter is the type of player, he might check a weak ace from up front. He might check a jack and now bet the turn. Peter's not a guy that I'm going to be mixing it up with all that much.
No.
And I always bring, let's take a look at another chip count here coming up.
And there it is. Here it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
Wow, now we have almost $6,000 on the table.
Yeah, Mark 1,500, Tony with 1,170. Wow. Jennifer's rebought. She's back to 5. Let's see how they're doing. Mark's probably our big winner, I'm sure. And yeah, up $1,000.
Jennifer's down a quick 700.
Yeah, Tony up 770. We'll keep track of this throughout the evening.
6-way action here, limped around. Now, Mark did not raise with ace-king this time, 9-5-4. Now, here's always the question. Will Mark, for some reason, check call here with ace-king on this board?
I don't know. Who knows? Maybe.
Now, Mike is going to come out and bet here with middle pair. He bets 30. Tony has got a middle pair with a better kicker to his immediate left. He's not going to get involved.
Is Jennifer going to get involved? No.
Yeah, she just check folds here with the 8-9. Not, I got to tell you, I'm probably going to check fold that against Mike, too, if I don't lead out on the flop. I don't know.
Well, right. But why aren't I leading out on the flop?
Mike takes it down.
Why aren't I betting?
Right.
Why not bet it? Why am I? I'm just assuming that somebody has to have a better hand than me? I mean, I understand people say, well, what do you do if you get called? Okay, in that case, you can cross that bridge when you come to it, but maybe then you shut down and you throw it away. You reevaluate it, obviously, depending on who calls you and what happens, who else calls you, and how many people call you. We get a live straddle here from Mark. He's making this game play a little bigger. Nobody's got much of anything here.
Straddle pot. Four-way action here. And Mark is once again going to raise it out of the straddle here with queen 9. Makes it 40 to go, and we're probably not going to see anybody get mauled.
You got to call. That's that. One-on-one. What do you got to next to playing basketball?
Now, like we mentioned last week, Dave, was Key going to call here with Jack 6? Wow.
Take one off, man. Hey, I need 2 cards.
There you go.
I need 2 cards, baby. Come on.
Here we go to the flop.
Jack 6. Well, not quite.
King 8-10 here. Well, Mark has got a gut shot here. Probably going to make a continuation bet.
And he'll take it down.
Yeah, Kia has totally missed this flop.
Well, Jack 6. I mean, that you're really reaching there with Jack 6.
Now, we mentioned last week, Dave, hopefully tomorrow night, or we mentioned earlier in the show, hopefully tomorrow night will be kind of a 5-10, or will be a 5-10 no-limit game, 500 men uncapped. And again, we used to do that game months and months ago, but that was when the game actually was a little bit weaker. Now we always seem to have 2 games going by 6 o'clock, plus a board for a third game.
Yeah, one game goes through the entire night usually.
Yeah.
So our new schedule, and obviously don't hold us to it, it is subject to change, but it looks like Monday will be our normal 3 to 5 game.
Right.
Tuesday will be a 5-10. Wednesday will be the 20-40. Thursday is up to discretion. It might be an $80 game, might be a $200 game, who knows. Friday will be our double fist Friday 10-20 game. So,
Jack 10-10 here on the flop, limped around.
And who knows, maybe once in a while we'll even throw in an Omaha game.
Yeah.
Which I'm very excited about. Obviously, that's why we got the new table.
Yeah.
Somebody get over there and they're like, you're choking. I'm like, don't worry, I know the Heimlich. And they're like, you haven't had any food. Why would you be choking? I'm pretty sure if I would have given it to him and killed him, I would have been held liable. No, I mean, like, immediately proceeding. That's going to be a great review.
Good look at Kia there. Butt moves over to him in seat number 2. Got halfway through the show here.
I was like, oh, please please don't let me walk up there. There's a 50-50 chance it's like somebody I'm really close to.
That's actually a great idea. Post here, he says, I don't know if it would be possible to find a count of the exact number of World Series of Poker events Phil Hellmuth or anybody else has entered that's been around that long. And, of course, someone with the time and desire to go back and research every major WSOP and WPT event could database this all together into a user-friendly website.
Well, Jennifer has chosen now this time, again, not to raise with nines here. She did it once. She hasn't done it twice. Now she's going to fold.
Yeah, mix it up a little bit. Why not?
And Tony is going to lead out here with a gut shot to the jack. And Kelsey is going to check call here with a weak king, king deuce.
Now, Kelsey always likes to play an act. What's his act tonight?
Well,
he's kind of got like that. He's like that, like his face.
He's pulling the check call lead into the turn. Sometimes the play that we often will endorse here, and it's going to get it done.
I like that play, especially with the hand as weak as king deuce.
Yeah.
You know, the board is somewhat draw heavy. You got queen 10 as an open-ended straight draw.
Now the problem is, say you check call here and lead out on a non-spade or non-straight card turn card. Now the river is a deuce, or not a deuce of diamonds because you wouldn't make two pair, but a three of diamonds.
Oh, you mean you get called?
Yeah, you get called on the turn. Do you play that on the river now as a check call, thinking this guy would not bet a king here on this spot? He's probably got busted spades. What do you do on the river? Do you throw a blocker bet out?
It obviously depends on the player you're playing against. If you think the player you're playing against is prone to bluffing if they miss a draw, yeah, why not check it to him?
Yeah.
Let him bluff. Now, obviously, if you think the player you're playing against is also good enough, though, and tricky enough, he will value bet a marginal king, well, then you've got to really worry about that.
Well, if Marcus raised it up to 15 here on the button, and now with these people who are linked in to the left of Bill, I think this is an automatic re-raise with aces, and he is going to raise.
Yeah. Now, Mark raising it to 15, his normal raise is, what, 20 or 25?
Yeah.
But now he's making it 15 with kind of a
Well, no, I mean, he made it 20 total.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
you know.
Okay. Good point.
Now, it's a $70 total re-raise, and again, you know, in a hand in a deep stack game, if you're on the button with 7-9 of spades and the guy's got aces, you might call here, but Bill just doesn't have enough for Mark to make that call, and he easily folds it. Kelsey's out of there with 8-9 of clubs. You know, it was kind of a sad story, Dave, right before we came onto the show. A gentleman at the stud high-low table kind of, I think he collapsed, had a seizure, and there were a bunch of paramedics here right before the show.
Yeah. It was actually the gentleman, anybody who's familiar with Live at the Bike way back, it was actually the gentleman that I interviewed, Nabil.
Nabil. I think he's an Egyptian gentleman.
Yeah, and interviewed him, I want to say, I don't know, a few months back.
Maybe 2 or 3 months ago?
Even further than that, probably more like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
But I interviewed him during the show. Really a super guy. Very nice gentleman. And wish him the best. Hopefully he'll be okay.
We got word that he was okay when he left.
Yeah.
Like, you know, breathing on his own, you know.
Right, yeah. Okay, being relatively.
Well, responsive to.
Yeah.
You know. Now, Peter's going to raise it up here again. He's got ace, deuce of diamonds this time. Seat 5 is going to call with pocket fours. Peter's, actually, excuse me, Mark has got king 10 of clubs. Peter's calls with ace, deuce of diamonds, Bill in there with fours. $80 pot. Well, ace, jack, king here. Now, how is Peter going to play this?
Well, that's not really the flop you're looking for with ace, deuce. You're going to try to play this pot real small, keep it small.
Mark did not bet out there with middle pair with a gut shot there. Turn is a 3, and now...
I think you maybe put a little money in there for Peter.
No, he checked it again.
Well, nothing wrong with doing that. It's a passive table.
It's checked around once again. Now the river's a 9. And
Peter's going to take it down. He wins.
Well, now he's going to throw a little bet out here. Hope that maybe someone didn't back into 2 pair.
Well, and maybe hopefully get a call from a jack or a king. You never know. And look, Mark is thinking about it here.
Yeah.
Mark's thinking, would this guy check an ace 2 times? Would he check an ace 2 times and then bet it? I don't understand.
This is definitely a marginal value bet. He does not get called, though.
Right. Surprised Mark didn't call that. I really thought he would.
I used to play on it a lot when we first started the show. Whose idea was this? I believe
Button moves here to seat 5.
completely speculating. Producer.
Jennifer speculating as to whose idea Live with the Bike was, Steve, at its...
It was actually my idea, wasn't it?
Oh, you stole it from me.
I thought it was.
I was going to set that up and say it was my idea. Your cockiness and arrogance beat me to the punch, man.
I know.
Beat my cockiness and arrogance.
Post from Baron Wenger Toth. Always count on him. He says, Chuck, I've spoken about this very thing for the last year. A number of websites in my discussions with them have said it was something they were looking into doing, not just listing cashes for a player, but their entry totals. But no site has made it happen yet in a fashion that has worked. He's liked it.
Now, we had a pre-flop raise here by Tony with King Jack. Tony out of the big blind raised it? Well, that was a little peculiar. I guess it was limped around, and Tony just made a little raise with King Jack out of the blind.
Well, Peter's now made 2 pair. I'm going to finish this post right when we're done his hands, because it's interesting what Baron says.
Well, Peter did not bet out with the 8.
But now he's going to bet with 2 pair.
Again, it's a little bit peculiar. I got word that Tony was a pre-flop raiser, but once he checks, I'm surprised Peter didn't bet that once the pre-flop raiser checks with 8-9, if that was the action. And now Kia is going to raise on the come with overcards on a club draw.
Well,
now,
you know, he doesn't think Peter would check, say, a big hand. Maybe you put Peter on just an 8, something like Ace-8, and maybe you can get him off of a hand. But you got to start thinking, what does what does Kia have here? Could he have 7-5?
Yeah. Now, look at this. Mark took the card with the dry flush draw. Not a bad play on the flop, but then he thought about calling this raise on the turn. It's an easy laydown now. He gets rid of deuce 4 of hearts.
Well, he also had a gut shot. A 5 would have given the straight.
Oh, that's right. He did kind of have a...
I mean, I'm surprised he didn't bet
the
it,
flop. Yeah.
I mean, he had a huge draw, flush draw, plus the gut shot for the straight. Now, if you decide to take the free card, nothing wrong with that. Obviously, it's an easy laydown on the turn when you miss.
Well, I got to tell you, if you're Peter here, the only thing you're really scared of now is 7-10, right? Or
7-5.
7-5, 7-10, yeah.
But remember, you've given this guy a free card. He could have anything here.
Well, Peter is going to call.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't put him on a set because why wouldn't he bet?
Here we go to the river. Well, the river's an ace, and now Kia, that's actually a great card for Peter because he might not face a big bet now on the river. Because Kia might now check it down behind him. And there it is. If that river, by Kia actually hitting that river, it forces Peter does not have to call a big bluff. Say if the river was a 3 or deuce of diamonds there, Dave.
No,
like
definitely.
Yeah.
Any of those cards come. Obviously, you've given this guy a free card. You don't want to go broke there when you've given the guy a free card. He could have anything. Who knows what he has?
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Baron's post here. He says, my thinking is this. You hear some dude has won $1 million in tournaments, yet he may be in for those tournaments for $1.1 million in buy-ins. Well, he's down. Yet some other guy may only have cashed for $900,000 total, but he's only in for $100K in buy-ins. Obviously, the latter is much more impressive, yet no site lets you figure that out. It's very annoying. And I can't agree more. I mean, to me, it's not really that impressive when I hear, wow, this guy has $200,000 in poker winnings, tournament winnings. I want to know how many tournaments they're winning. You know? I mean, is Annie Duke really a great tournament player, or is she just playing a lot? I'm not saying she's not good. I don't know. But is she a great tournament player, or is she just playing every single one? Because I got to tell you, if you play all 40 tournaments at the World Series, you're going to cash in 3 or 4, at least. You might even cash in 7 or 8. I mean, is that necessarily so impressive if you were to play 40 events at the World Series this year, and you cashed in, say, 8 of them, or 7 of them? I don't know. Eric's going to put a little $20 bet in there. He said nobody bet the flop. He goes, okay, maybe my 7s are good. And he'd be right in that assessment. And he's going to take this down. Once again, we're live at the bike. I'm David Tuckman here with Bart Hanson. You're watching No Limit Hold'em. Blinds are 5 and 5. If you want to email us, you can email us at live@thebike.com. You can also follow a live thread over at 2plus2.com. Go to Televised Poker. Go to official Live at the Bike thread for July 17th, and we're over there. A lot of cool features over on our website. While you're watching the show, you can kind of browse the site. We've got video blog. We've got my blog, Under the Gun with David Tuckman. We've got poker terminology, poker news, all sorts of cool stuff. Check it out. Get a raise here, $35 from Kelsey. He's going to make it 35 with the old Jack 6 of diamonds. And I don't think anybody's going to call this. No, it doesn't look like it. Kelsey's going to win himself about $15 in blinds. I mean, it's one of the reasons I look at like a player like a Cloney Gowan. Is Cloney necessarily a successful player? I don't know. Evelyn Ing. Players like this, I have no idea.
Wait, where are you going? Oh, I thought you were
I mean, I can tell you honestly, last year at the World Series, if you were to calculate all my satellites and everything that went cost and everything, I would say I probably broke even in tournaments. Did not come out a winner in tournaments last year at the World Series. And this year I am, let's see, I won a satellite last time I went, but I lost 1,500. I'd actually say I'm probably down about $500 this year at the World Series.
Can I add a couple of zeros on that for me? Not quite 50, but
Yeah.
if you include my $5,000 debacle, I went back and looked at my records, Dave, in terms of online satellites for the main event. I've probably forked over now close to 4,000, and it just comes to a certain point where I will probably play one mega, and that's it. It's over.
Yeah, well,
The main event does not mean that much to me. I'm definitely not forking down 10 grand.
Right.
You and I actually had this conversation yesterday. You yourself said you're not going to fork down 10 grand either.
no,
right?
I'm planning on winning a seat in a mega. I think I
Yeah.
will be able to. I like I said, I'm probably budgeting out about $3,500 in satellites to try to get
okay.
in.
So you might play a one table as well.
Well, no, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm probably going to play a lot of like 325 or 525s, try to win some World Series of Poker tournament chips, and then I'll use those to get into the megas. And the megas, I think, are the best value. I like those. I've actually lost. I want to say I've probably put about $1,000 so far into the World Series main event, and have not gotten in.
I was really disappointed yesterday. If anyone missed the beginning of the show, I made it really far in the Poker Stars 150 seat guarantee. I made it to about 500th out of about 7,800 people.
I really
about
thought you had it.
235 seats.
It was funny when after I got knocked out, I kind of was watching you. I was sweating you, and I was kind of doing a couple other things, and I would glance over and I saw you with 14,000 in chips. I was like, oh, good. Then I saw him with 18,000 chips. I was like, oh, wow. Then I saw you with 32,000 chips, and I was like, oh, Bart's gonna get a seat.
Yeah.
I was like, he's got it. And then obviously it was just not to be. A couple of hands later, which is all it really needs in No Limit Hold'em. Obviously, 1-2 hands and you're done.
Jennifer there made a raise with ace king of spades. Did not get called. Made a big raise. New player coming into seat number 1. Nick. Got about, I'll say, an hour and 15 minutes left in the show. Again, we're playing 5-5 No Limit Hold'em, $300 minimum, $500 maximum buying game. You can bring your stack up to 500 at any time. And I don't know if Nick's ever played on the show before. He does not look familiar to me. Eric is going to open raise here to 25 with ace-queen offsuit. Going to take it down.
An interesting email here from Tony Luke, and he says, okay, I see your point. I guess a good point that would be that in a super stacked poker cash game where you just have so much money in relation to the blinds, there would probably be a higher premium on disguising your big pocket pair and giving off some bad information than necessarily raising there, because the implied odds will always be there to bust pocket aces. Thank you very much, by the way, Tony. We do appreciate the email.
As far as cash, yes. They do pay points.
It's just interesting. The interesting thing is, when I saw a player of Scott Lundgren's caliber on our show, and Scotty Lundgren is a player who's one of the preeminent cash game players. He's probably one of the better players you've never heard of, and we had him on our show. Kind of played a very strange brand of poker as far as we were concerned. We were looking at it going, wow, this guy's not raising with kings out of the blind. And it just got me thinking, so it got me kind of starting to analyze those plays. And I said, if this guy's not doing it, maybe it's not right always to do that. So I started thinking about it a little more, analyzing my play.
Wow, 8-way action here, limped around. 10-5-4 rainbow on the flop.
Look at the job Ronnie does.
Well, now
really phenomenal.
Bill's picked up a big draw. Now he was open-ended on the flop. Now he's got clubs, and now he's going to bet 20 here. There are 15 cards that can improve his hand here on the river. A call here by Tony with ace-9.
And they're all clean, aren't they?
Yep. Again, he's about a 2-to-1 dog with one card to come. About 1 out of every 3 cards here will improve his hand. Well, that's actually not one of them.
Yeah, that improves his hand, but not enough.
Yep. He checks. And now, now I think Tony's actually making what he thinks is a value bet with a better 9 here. You know, maybe this guy's got Jack or Queen 9 here, and it's not a bad bet.
And it really is a great bet if Bill had something like Jack 9 or Queen 9.
Yeah.
And Bill had just a monster draw.
Just everything. Knock out the first squeeze on the river.
Again, you can email us at live@thebike.com.
Nice email here from Matt. He says, what a life Tuck has. He goes, hey guys, I just found out that Tuck's father-in-law is Rex Manning, and he's married to the ballet dancer in the store from Empire Records. Does life get any better? Keep up the
Wife
great
was
work.
the ballet dancer in Empire Records?
Yeah, most of her part actually got cut out. She had about 3 minutes of dancing in a record store, and it got cut down to like, I don't know, 45 seconds.
As it goes in movies, right?
Yeah.
Queen 9-9 here. Nick is going to lead out here with the weak queen. He is going to take it down. Now, you have done much more, mainstream, say, screen acting work than I have. Did you ever have a part where it was just totally cut out? You were paid for the day?
Yeah.
And it never met?
I was actually I actually filmed for 4 days a movie called Perfect Storm
Yeah,
with Wolfgang Peterson.
With
And
George
we filmed
Clooney
up,
and, about
we
that.
filmed
the
up in Point
Gloucester boat.
Magoo.
Yeah.
My part was actually with the Coast Guard rescue team that was going to go down there. And I think the guy who was in it was Dash, the redhead guy. I'm trying to think of his name now. Anyway, the rescue team, basically, they were launching off the site.
And their helicopter crashed, right?
Right. I was one of the soldiers, though, at Point Magoo that was supposedly, it was actually supposed to be like Long Island.
Yeah.
But I was one of the soldiers there.
And you had a speaking role?
Yeah. We actually filmed there for 7 days. I was there for about 4 days, and they cut out the entire part there.
Yeah.
I said, okay,
Well, Kelsey's flopped top 2 pair here. There's a raised pot here. Was it Nick that raised it with Jack 4? Wow, kind of a tournament-ish move, and he's going to make a continuation bet with a pair of 4s. He bets 100. Let's see if Kelsey raises it up right away, thinking this guy is not going to get away from an overpair. I don't want to, this is a clear-cut case where if I've got top 2 here and I think the guy has an overpair, do I want to call and risk the chance that the guy will get away from it if a deuce, a 6, or a heart comes on the turn?
In this game, I'm raising right away. There's no reason for me to mess around. You got to look at that flop, too.
Well, he's going to make it big. He's going to make it 350.
I got to tell you, with that kind of flop, I have 5-4 spades. I want to win this pot right now.
Really? Don't you want to get a call from an overpair if you make a min raise here?
Depends. I mean, there's a lot of hands. Yeah, I want to get a call from an overpair, like 2 blackjacks.
Right.
But there's a lot of cards that can come off to really kill me. I mean, if a 3 comes off, my hand is dead. If a deuce comes off and the guy has aces, my hand is dead. If an ace comes off, my hand is dead. I mean, there's so many hands that can come off that can really kill me.
And you know what, though? All in. Oh, look at this. And Nick moves all in with Jack 4, and Kelsey calls. What? Nick is going to need to catch a Jack here.
How does Nick move all in there?
He moved all in.
I can't believe that. There's no fold equity.
Whoa, and the dealer's dropped the deck. And the turn is a 10. Kelsey might think that kills him. Nick's need a counterfeit or a Jack here, and the river's a deuce.
And if you didn't think the 10 of hearts killed you, the deuce of diamonds, you must hate that one.
Yeah.
Because if this guy had...
Yeah, but unless you thought he just had an overpair like 2 kings, Dave, something like that.
No,
right?
that for sure. But if, let's say he had... Well, let's say I'm trying to think if he had the ace-high flush draw, he got there with the 10 of hearts. But let's say he had something like ace-king and he was just getting stubborn.
Yeah.
He got there also. I mean, a lot
Looked
of
to
things.
me like the dealer dropped the deck there. I thought that, but then I guess it was just a muck. Right. So is that kind of your biggest mainstream movie role, really? I mean, I know you've been on TV
probably,
stuff.
Yeah, that
you
was
must have been really disappointed when it got cut out, right?
It was,
that was
a
big movie.
It was actually, Wolfgang Peterson was great to work with. He was fabulous.
I mean, that ended up making like $200 million, didn't it, or $150?
Yeah, it's funny. I read the book, and I really thought after reading the book that this movie would be up for Oscars. I thought it was that good, and I was kind of excited that I was going to be involved in it. Then after seeing the script, I thought it wasn't quite that good, and I said, okay, well, it'll still be a summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
George Clooney, all these guys were in it. I'm like, oh, wow, Diane Lane.
So you had a few lines or something like that?
Yeah. And
you got like just kind of a SAG scale pay for that?
I actually got pretty. I think I actually got like double scale.
Yeah.
Because I had done a couple other little things.
So like $1,000 a day or something like that.
$1,200 a day or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they actually called me up a couple of months before the release of it to get my name for the credits. So I got really excited. I was like, yes, my part wasn't cut out. Super. And then I never got called for any of the premiere. We'll get to it in a second.
Now look at this. Nick raised it with ace-8 from up front, Dave.
Well, this is going to be chopped up.
And Bill is called with ace-5.
Yeah, I mean, unless somebody folds, this will probably be chopped up.
But again, though, like I said, maybe Nick is fresh from a tournament. He's raised here with ace-8 now, and he's going to bet.
He's got the nuts.
Does Bill get involved here? Do you call one time and see what happens?
Well, if you're calling here, you're calling to chop it up. You're right, aren't you?
Well, unless
you
you
never
think the
know.
guy just doesn't have an ace or a king, obviously.
Right. Although Nick is kind of in here splashing around, maybe you think he's got nothing, and this is going to be chopped up.
Turns a 10, and it goes check, check.
No card can come off.
And the river's an 8, and that
Changes nothing.
does not change anything.
Kind of an odd thing. The 10 of spades came out there.
And it was a $100 bet by Nick at the end, but they're going to chop it up.
Okay, help me with this. The 10 of spades came on the turn,
Yeah.
and it said Nick still had a chance to win. How?
Did it say Nick still had a chance?
Yeah,
to
it said 7% Nick. Nothing for Bill. And I can't see it.
win? No, I don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it would have been, even if another ace comes. Yeah, ace.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Anyway, to make a long story shorter as I can, basically, they were going to do the premiere of it, but it was obviously the big premiere for the big actors, and then they were going to do a studio premiere for any of the smaller roles, which usually you're invited to, even if you have a small role. And I wasn't invited to that,
Oh, really?
and I started getting all like, uh-oh. So then Melissa and I actually went to go see it. We went to go see it at Grauman's Chinese Theater over on Hollywood Boulevard, and about halfway through it, or three-quarters of the way through it, Melissa's like, I think I got cut out. And Melissa's like, are you sure? And I'm like, well, the guy I had the scene with just died. I'm like, I'm not sure, but that's not a good sign usually.
Mark has raised it up here with a couple of queens. Now, Mike has got pocket 10s. He's had a kind of a rough night. He's just going to call. Tony's got ace-king suited over here. Is he going to re-raise?
It looks like it. He's playing with 200 there. He's thinking about what to do.
And I got to tell you, if Mark pushed in with queens against Jennifer, you got to think he's probably going to make the same play here? Question mark? I mean, these guys are really deep.
This
Mark's
is
got
different, though.
1,500, and Tony's got him almost covered.
Jen only had $200
Yeah.
last time. This is, God, pocket queens here. You really got to be careful with this one. Really got to be careful.
I just don't. There's no way you can just push here, open push. I mean, you can,
This is one of the reasons why I love this game. If you get deep enough and you get players that aren't as experienced playing deep stack poker,
right.
because now he's got pocket queens and he really doesn't know where he's at. He's out of position with queens. Tough hand to play out of position. It really is when you get a raise and a re-raise. Because you got to start thinking, what would he re-raise me with? Aces, kings, maybe ace-king suited, and maybe pocket jacks. Well, two of those four hands I'm dead against. I can beat one of them, and the other one is pretty much a coin flip, but I'm out of position.
and again, the other problem is that against that range of hands, if you re-push here, you're not going to get a call from the hands that you beat, but you are going to get a call from the hands that beat you. There's almost no value to push, right?
Very little value to
Yeah.
re-raising. And I don't know how much information you get by re-raising. Let's say you re-raise to 300.
Right.
And he has aces, kings, or ace-king suited, or even jacks. He might smooth call you, and you don't know where you're at.
Well, he's going to call. Now, I would assume that this is probably going to get Mike out of the hand.
Well, Mike's now getting 2-1 on his money. Does he have enough to make the call? That's the question.
Now, he's only got 400 there. I mean, he's going to need to commit. And wow, he's committing like almost 30% of his remaining stack there.
Well, he's putting in 100 to win 300, but he thinks he might be able to double up here.
Well, here we go. It's about a $500 pot. Well,
Uh-oh.
I don't know if Mark's going to get away from this. All three players have overpairs. How does Mark play this?
Well, Tony actually has ace-king suited. We assumed he had ace.
Oh, excuse me. You're right. Mark is going to come out and bet.
I like the play. I really do. That's kind of a let me see where I'm at bet. Now, the only question is now, if Tony were to move all in, what would Mark
Well,
do?
here's the question for Mike. I think if you're Mike, I think you're almost forced to lay this down with the re-raiser to your left.
I agree.
He was going to make this play. He was just trying to say, well, you know what? I got 150. There's money in there plus the 300. 150 to maybe win 800. And that's why I didn't think he had enough to make the call initially anyway. So
No,
if
I
if
think
he
you're
was
right.
in there, I don't think he can make this. Wow, and he's going to maybe just a kind of a frustration all in. And now
that's-
Mark can easily call now.
That's going to protect Mark's hand.
Yeah.
That actually is going to protect Mark's hand because that will force Tony. I was really curious to see if Tony was going to make a move.
Yeah.
If he was going to re-raise him. But once Mike moves all in, Tony can't make a move. Tony throws his ace-king away.
Yeah.
It's an easy call for Mark.
About an $800 or $900 pot, 150 for Mark to call. He makes the call, and Mike is in horrifically bad shape here. He's going to need to catch one of the two remaining 10s or some sort of running straight. Actually, he can't even catch a running
No, he
straight,
can't.
can he? Yeah.
Oh, wow. And that's the
Yeah.
ace that Tony would have hit on the turn.
The river's a 4, and Mark is going to win it with queens.
And Mark takes it down. And I got to tell you, pocket queens have been good to him. Just hasn't been Mike's night. Mike's a really good player. You know, good players lose all the time.
Well, Mark just said, he asked Tony what he had, and he said, I almost went over the top of you. But again, though, Mark watches this show to improve his game. He played the hand correctly. There's almost no reason to ever go over the top right there with queens.
I really like the way Mark played the hand. I really was curious, though, if he had bet, if Mike folded, and let's say Tony re-raises it up to, say, 500, what do you do then with queens? Are you going to muck him? Are you prepared to say, okay, these can't be good, he wouldn't do this with ace-king? What would you do?
Yeah, I think you would muck.
Would you muck there, saying, he has to have aces or kings here?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's a slight chance he has jacks, but if he has jacks, okay, well, so be it. I'll give you the pot. Well played. That's just funny. I'm sorry. I've been talking about how obviously we'd love to see, what the percentage of success for these tournament players is. So Chicken Tender comes out. He goes, first of all, I think it'd be fun to see who has the least bang for the buck. And in the individual event category, the nominees are Bart Hansen, 5K, no limit. Oh, man, well, at least you can laugh about it.
Yeah, like I said, what are you going to do? I know, you're not necessarily more bitter than I am. I don't know if you would have got more upset. I mean, you would have eventually kind of resigned yourself to what happened. I
would have flipped over tables.
Yeah.
I have a temper.
What are you going to do about it, though? You're going to let it affect your cash game play for the next couple months?
I probably would have gone the way of, like, Fight Club and gone out and just picked a fight with somebody. No, I wouldn't have let it affect my cash game, and I wouldn't have done anything at Harrah's, except probably tell them to go screw themselves.
Well, look at this now. Bill raised it up with jacks, and Nick has flopped a nice little drawing flop here.
Now, this is the kind of hand that he should be pushing on, right?
Yeah, and I think Bill checked, and Nick bet.
There you go. That's a good bet there by Nick.
I mean, would you have boycotted all the rest of World Series poker?
No, it's not their fault. But I honestly think I probably would have gone out and gotten drunk and started a fight and got my ass kicked.
Oh, you like to deal with, like, hardship in that way?
Yeah. So I would have wanted to punish myself. So I would have probably picked a fight with some guy and let him kick my ass. Well, not let him. He would have just kicked my ass.
Well, it's funny. I was talking to some, kind of seasoned pros that have been doing, playing poker for a long time for a living. And, they say sometimes something like that happens when you are kind of gambling for a living. A thing like that might happen. It's just something you have to take into account. $35 raise here by Nick.
Did any of them say they've done it before?
No, of course not.
But it's something you have to account for.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you do have to account for. I'll give you another nature of something. Yeah, the hand's over here. Another nature. Now, you lost $5,000 doing nothing. And obviously that's going to come out of your poker bankroll and so forth. But let's say Doyle Brunson and this actually happened to him. He gets robbed at gunpoint and loses and $10,000 it's on him gets stolen. Right. That is something a gambler has to account for.
What I was going to say was, if you walk around with a lot of cash on you, I try to do it as little as possible for that reason. Say, Dave, you were to walk out of here or some other casino and got jacked for $3 or $4 grand.
Definitely.
Like I said, that is something that's going to happen probably more to a gambler who walks around with that type of money than somebody else who doesn't walk around with that type of money.
Of course. Not in a question. I mean, it's one of the reasons why you and I keep my cash here in a player's bank.
Right.
But you've obviously got to be aware that those are hazards that go with the business.
Right.
Something as silly as even if, let's say, you've got a couple of $1,000 chips in your pocket.
And one drops.
And you just lose it.
Yeah.
Somebody can say, I'm never going to lose a $1,000 chip. Hey, if you play poker for 30 or 40 years, you might lose a $1,000 chip once in your life.
You might get something stolen from the table from you, too, and not realize it until afterwards.
Yeah, somebody takes off one of the chips up your top, takes 100, palms off a $100 chip. Supposedly, Puggy Pearson was famous for somebody would go, hey, can I get 500 in purples, say. They give him 5 whites and ask for 500 in purples. He would give him the chips and palm off one. So you'd get 475. Puggy Pearson was notoriously famous for that.
Now, Kia's got trip threes. He's going to bet right away here, Dave. Look at this. He's 99% to win the hand. Anyone else would have to catch a running full house to beat him.
And nobody's going to try.
No. Takes it down. But again, those are, like you said, hazards that come with
Yeah.
the occupation of gambling for a living.
Right, right.
You know.
I mean, it's not much different than, in the sense of, have you ever thrown away the winning hand on the river?
Or what if you bought in for the tournament and some sort of act of God, as they call it in insurance policies, happens where you can't make it to the tournament?
Definitely.
Like you get into a car accident.
Right.
And you have to go to the hospital with a
Well,
broken arm.
they'll actually get your money back for that.
Well, yeah, if you contact them, well, this is part of the argument, if you contact them before the prize pool is posted.
Right,
If you get
right.
knocked unconscious for 10 hours and you contact them after the prize pool is posted.
I would imagine you'd probably have some sort of legal battle there as well.
Well, I mean, that's the example that I used in my post over in,
Right,
when
but
I posted that up in the
I
World
understand,
Series of
but
Poker.
I would imagine it. Let's say you were driving to the event.
Yeah.
Okay, or taking a taxi to the event. Let's say you were staying in the Bellagio, and in your taxi ride, you got into an accident, got unconscious, and didn't wake up till the next morning. And at the first moment that you were aware, you contacted them and let them know. I'm assuming they would make good on it. They have to.
Bill has flopped top 2 here. Dave, that was my argument, though. But that was my argument, like I said in my post, because before I said in years past they would have picked your stack up after level 4 or 5 when they realized you weren't there. Now they don't do that. I think my point was that you wouldn't get it back.
They'd have to do something. They'd have to.
Where does the money come from? If the chips are in play and you get blinded off. That was my argument. I said that there was no difference between that and what happened to me.
There really isn't. But
Right.
you wonder, though, if Harris would swallow it in that one case.
Swallow it and give you money out of their pockets, you mean?
Yeah,
Take
you
a look at
wonder.
another chip count there.
Wow, almost
$6,700.
$7,000 on the table.
Yeah.
A lot of money on this table, I tell you. Kelsey always has a knack of doing well in this game, I got to tell
He
you.
does.
Always. It's unbelievable. Mark up 1,500. And look at this, Kelsey's only been in the game for what? Half hour of 550? Keep track of this. Mike down 950 now. Oh.
Better than me? What?
Limped around here, 3 ways.
Oh. Yeah, but when I'm in, I'll have the best.
Ace 9-4 here with a couple of hearts. Turn is a deuce.
Well, Mike's made a straight.
He has got a wheel.
And he's hit the gut shot, but it is a third hard out
Didn't
there.
bet it. Now the river's a 5. Didn't bet it from up front. Now he's going to bet.
Now it's a little bit of bet out there, but nobody can call.
I mean, Bill actually had the nut flush draw there. He took the card on the turn.
And the funny thing is, if Mike bets the turn,
He's going to get called by Bill, most likely,
Yeah.
right?
you got to imagine.
You know, Jive Dadson on the 2+2 forum put a link up there to kind of your little bio and some of the things that you acted in. Funny thing is, we've had a decent amount of emails from people that have posted saying that they were disappointed that we are now charging to watch the entire show for free, or that you have to be an archive subscriber. Not really a peep out of Jive Dadson. Obviously,
Not
there were
a peep.
Yeah, there were a lot of things that he had complained about in the past. This not being one of them.
There you go.
I don't know. Maybe I just rattled the.
I mean,
Rattle the cage.
like the one thing I'll always maintain,
Yeah.
I still maintain that the people that really love the show, I think will easily see the value in paying for it, the $14.95 per month. Plus, by them paying $14.95 a month,
Yeah.
we will be able to bring them better content, more guest commentators,
And, you know,
and so forth and so on.
You know, I don't really want to get into any of the details of what some of the things people have been saying, but there's one thing that I wanted to address. You know, people saying, oh, they need to thin their audience out because of the bandwidth. They want less audience so that the bandwidth, so that the quality of picture will be better. That is obviously not the case.
No, obviously not the
I
case.
mean,
We would love nothing
Yeah.
more than to have thousands and thousands
Right.
of viewers.
right.
We had one hysterical email. Do you want to read it?
Oh,
It was just funny.
Yeah.
You gotta read it. Come on.
if I can find it here.
It's way down there, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Was it this one?
No.
Or was it from the other night? We got a $35 raise here.
I'll find it.
$35 raise here by Nick with 9-3 of spades. Mark is going to call with Queen Jack here. Jen is also in there with pocket queens. She just makes the smooth call here in the big blind, Dave. So the pot is almost $100, and Jennifer hits a set of queens, and Mark's got top pair. Nick has middle pair and a flush draw. If you're going to raise with 9-3 of spades, what better flop is there? And what happened here? What was the action? Somebody's moved all in, but I don't know who it is. Jennifer checked the flop,
There you go.
and Nick moved all in. Like I said, not a bad flop for Nick. As good as it's going to get with 9-3 of spades, right?
Hey, if you're gonna raise with 9-3 of spades, that's the flop you're looking
And
for.
this
isn't
would
it?
be a beautiful gift here for Jennifer if Mark calls, because she's going to triple up if she can dodge some cards here.
Yeah.
Well, because that's the case queen on the flop.
Yeah. She doesn't have to worry about Mark. But
No,
she
but
doesn't have to worry about spades.
But again, though, Mark, he might call here with Queen Jack.
Well, and at this point, if you're Jennifer here, you want Mark to call because Mark he's just dead money.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So the pot, he moves in for $535 into a $100 pot. Dave, this is almost screaming like it is some sort of draw. Would he do this with aces? $500 all in to a $100 pot here? I mean, again, this is one of those cases where you're only really going to get called by a hand that beats you, and he's going to get called by Jennifer, who's way out in front right now.
Yeah, I mean,
So look at
some
her,
people
she's
go-
kind of stone-faced over there. Hasn't really given off anything. And if he calls here, she is in superb shape to triple up here.
now oftentimes if there's a player, if you're in Mark's spot, now he's staring at seat 1.
Right.
I'd kind of glance at Jennifer. I'd want to see. I want to see what she's doing. I want to see, does she look disinterested? Does she look like she's completely removed from this hand? Or is she kind of wondering?
And Mark makes the call here, Dave. And Jennifer's going to check raise all in.
And look, and Mark just bows his head. He knows he's dead.
And that's for less. So we're going to see two people all in here.
And this pot is what, $1,500,
Yeah,
$1,600?
$1,500 or $1,600. Two people all in. Jennifer's going to need to dodge a spade here.
Or running.
Or fill up.
What?
Oh, and the turn's a spade. She needs to fill up here on the river, and it doesn't come.
And you got to be kidding.
And Nick is
going to
win the
it.
pot. Flush. Oh, 9-3 of spades with the open raise.
And Mark's going to realize that he was pretty much drawing dead on that flop.
To some sort of running straight card that didn't make a flush, right?
Right, and
Wow.
and look at that. Nick moves all in, gets called in 2 spots. Now, Nick also, by the way, once you're getting called in 1 spot, Nick loves the fact that Mark called 2.
Oh,
right?
yeah, of course.
You want 2 people to call you. Why not?
Dave, I think the email that you were talking about was from Friday. The guy that wished us ill will. Is that the one that you were talking about?
No. The one that I'm talking about where I was dancing. Where no bracelet winner.
Oh, that one. Oh, okay.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, I read that.
Hysterical.
Yeah, unlucky
And
there for
just
Jennifer.
not Jennifer's night tonight. I mean, she loses with aces to queens, then she flops a set of queens and loses. You know, sometimes it's just not your night. And she's going to pack up and go home.
I knew you didn't know.
Wow, that's just too bad.
Yeah, unbelievable. And Nick there, $1,600 pot, just like that.
So, yeah, there's a couple of emails that I want to bring out now that we're on this topic.
Oh, there's just one that's just so funny.
Yeah,
That one is just hysterical.
I'll find it here. Three-way action here. Ace-4 king.
A couple of hearts out there. And then Nick's got the best hand here with King 9. And now this game, the dynamic of this game is completely changed here. You know, you've got Kelsey in seat 4 who's not going to lay down. You've got Mark there who's a pretty aggressive player. And then you've got seat 1 really rattling it up, Nick. And we're going to say goodnight to Jennifer. She's going, and we'll probably get somebody in there who's probably a little bit more live than her. Which is pretty much everybody. And you finally found it.
Yes, I did.
Email here from John Peterson. I've got to read it.
Yeah. Kia bet, and wow, Tony raised, and Kia called. Kia called with King 3 to Tony's raise. And Tony's going to continue to bet.
He keeps firing here. And all Kia can beat here is like, I mean, I guess a flush draw, right?
He's now picked up kind of a gut shot wheel draw now as well.
Okay. You know, Tony clearly representing a big hand. He takes it down. Nice bluff. Okay, John Peterson. Boo! $14.95 a month? Come on. One of the great things about the show was it was a free webcast. I am all about making some moolah, but this sucks. Bart and Dave, I thought you guys did a good job.
Quote unquote.
Right. But it's not like you are bracelet winners. I mean, Dave, you sucked out on Cheryl Hines and did a cheeky head shake. But I didn't think it's worth this kind of cash.
But I don't think it's worth this kind of cash.
Oh, well, it was good while it lasted.
A cheeky handshake?
Head shake. It was a cheeky head shake.
Oh, I got to find the one from last week too, Dave. Now, Eric's got ace-king here, made a raise.
Yeah.
Took you
And the
down.
thing is, that, I mean, for whoever can't afford it, I feel bad for them. But at the same time, some of these emails are just really funny.
Well, he's already thinking of kings or aces, so I'm just gonna
Yeah, you still get 3 hours, 3 a week, of course. First half an hour of the
Right.
show.
that's okay.
Oh, by the way, tomorrow night's the first 30 minutes will actually be me on the toilet. Hope you enjoy it. And Eric's going to move over to seat number 9. New player in seat number 8. His name is...
I don't think he's ever said that much in his life.
We'll get that for you in a second. Queen 10-7, Rainbow. And everybody's missed. Mike's going to put a little continuation bet out there with ace-9, and that should be enough to take it down. Kelsey not going to call.
Laying that down. Big leader.
All right, so here's another email here. I found it from Josh Neiman. Subject, confused and angry. Dear Live at the Bike, I've been watching the show since June of 2004, and I've always been incredibly happy with the show. I don't very much excess money to spend $14.95 a month, so I've never been a subscriber, but I watch it live a few times a week. Whenever I meet people who are interested in poker, I turn them on to Live at the Bike because it's a great game, great for my game, and entertaining. However, this sudden change to a 30-minute free preview is absolutely ridiculous. The only reason I can think of that would warrant a change in this policy is that your number of hits are in a downward trend, so you can't make any money off of advertising. Well, I just wanted to send this email to let you guys know that I'm very disappointed in that. I am no longer going to be able to watch the show because of the $14.95 a month charge, and it seems pretty ridiculous to me. I'm also no longer going to be able to tell others about your show. I do not want people to pay money for what was once free. I also hope your downward trend in number of hits continues, and I no longer wish you guys well. Sorry to have to part in this way.
Now, see, that's the funny part of it.
Yeah.
I could have probably skipped it all there.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mike Betts here with pocket sixes.
I no longer wish you guys well.
Yeah. I also hope your downward trend in numbers continues. And we do not have any sort of downward trend in numbers at all.
No.
I mean, that was what, when people kept writing in, well, you guys are deciding to make it subscription only because you have a downward trend in numbers. That's the exact opposite. Nothing could be further from the case if you were to look at a graph since the beginning of when we were at its inception a year and a half ago. Button moves over here to seat 4. Ronnie's saying in the background that he doesn't wish us well either.
Ronnie can go to hell.
Yeah. Look at this Jennifer Bankston coming in here. She's got a mean look on her face, Dave.
Yeah, it's about as mean as it gets for Jennifer Bankston. Jennifer Bankston,
And
obviously,
she can't win every night. Jeez.
the ladies
There's some
not being
variance in
good to her
poker.
tonight. The queens, the ladies
Yeah.
killing her tonight. She gets killed with them. She gets killed by them. Not her night.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got to realize one of the reasons why you need to bankroll good players. You can play as tight as you want to and still lose.
Yeah, because then I'll walk away without it. That's why.
I can't tell you how many times I've actually heard people say, "Yeah, no, I'm only going to play the nuts. Okay, I am going to put it in with the absolute nuts, and I will win. Okay, there's nothing I can do about it. There's no way I can lose."
Yeah.
And you look at what Jennifer Bankston did. She got some guy to put all his money in when he had queens and she had aces. And then she had another guy put all his money in with a spade draw. The other guy with top pair when she had top set.
Right.
And she lost that too. So,
5-way action here, limped around.
buyer beware there.
Now, Bill has got top and bottom here, ace 3.
And nobody else has got much of anything. You got a pair of 5s there for Nick and a pair of 5s for Mark, but
Look at this. Nick bet 5. Mark raised with the same hand at 25.
and if you're Bill, I got to tell you, if I'm Bill, I'm re-raising both those characters. Not even a question.
And he does.
Yeah.
He's going to make it 100. New player there coming into seat 8. Bob, kind of a new face again. Haven't seen him before. This is a pretty easy laydown for both players
Yeah.
now.
B.O.B. Bob.
Email here by Chad Nishan saying, hey guys, not sure if you know this, but it looks like Yosh Nakano is about to make the final table of the 2,000 No Limit Shootout. He said, also, I was a little sad when you guys went to subscription, but I immediately paid because the show is the shit, and I don't think I could live without it.
Well, that's great.
I mean, seriously, if I didn't have it every night, I might actually do something productive like study.
Oh, well, don't start doing that, man. Whatever you do, don't
Thanks,
start
Jack.
studying. I got to tell you, Yosh Nakano actually didn't really play that much No Limit. He actually was telling me that he credits a little bit of his resurgence in the No Limit tournament scene to playing on Live with the Bike.
Does he really?
Yeah. He watched himself on the archives, and
Yeah.
he was playing it every week when the Poker Blue Whale
Yeah.
Night was going on. Got him a little bit more experience playing No Limit Hold'em again. And you see in the last 3 or 4 months, he has really made a resurgence in No Limit Hold'em, especially tournaments.
Now, Mark raised it up here, 35 with Jack 10. Eric limped in with Ace Queen. He called the raise, and so did Nick. And Eric is going to lead out here with Ace Queen. And actually, it was Nick who was the original raiser. Mark called with Jack 10. And again, I don't give credit for Nick having anything here.
No, not necessarily. And he's just splashing around. But you've got to be aware that he has a lot of money. And if you're deep as well, you've got to be aware that players that splash around like Nick, they get big hands also sometimes.
Let me ask you a question, though. If we can leave that board up for a second. If
Yes.
you're Eric there, and you have 400, which isn't that much, might you play that flop as a check raise?
Not even a question.
Knowing against most players, there isn't value because you're probably not going to get called by a hand like Ace-Jack or, Ace-10. But against Seat 1, he would instantly call with any ace, probably.
Well,
He
not
was
even-
the pre-flop raiser.
I would check raise it, though. The
That's
other way
what I'm
around.
saying.
Right.
Check raise. I said, wouldn't you play it as a check raise instead of a lead out?
Well, there's also a matter of if the guy has nothing, like in this case, pocket deuces,
Right.
you're not going to get a bet from him.
But the
While
point
if
is-
you check to him, he will bet.
Right. What I meant by that was against a good player when I'm deep, I don't think Ace Queen is strong enough on that board to make a check raise. But against him, I think he could easily bring it in with a weak ace, and I'm going to commit my chips with Ace Queen.
I got to tell you, when I have $400, if I'm only $400 deep and it's a raised pot and I'm in there with Ace Queen, I'm going to play that. I'm going to play that hand probably as a check raise 9 out of 10 times.
Look at this. Nick is raised under the gun with 8-6 of diamonds. Tony has called. Eric re-raises with aces, and Nick immediately moves all in. And Eric is obviously going to immediately call, and we are going to see an $1,100 board run, and Nick's going to have to get real lucky here. Eric probably about a 8.5 to 1 favorite here,
Yeah.
with 5 cards to come. $1,000 board run.
And
Here
I'm
we
kind
go.
of surprised Jennifer Bankston got up from this table. Oh,
Oh,
my.
and Nick flops a flush. Now, Eric has the ace of diamonds in his hand, but Nick has a redraw to the 3 of diamonds.
Or the 7.
Well, the turn is a 7. Yeah, you're right. Nick has got a double-gutted straight flush draw. And the river's a king, and Eric sucks back out with the ace of diamonds. Oh, wow.
Unbelievable here. Oh, man. I mean, it was such an amazing flop from Nick. Even with Eric having the ace of diamonds,
Yeah.
he only had 6, 7. He had 5 outs, and that's it. Because there were only 7 remaining diamonds.
Yeah.
2 of which gave Nick the straight flush.
Wow.
5 outs, that was it, and Eric hit it. Hits one of his 5 outs. Now, obviously, all the money was in pre-flop. Nick really has nothing to whine
No,
about.
of course not. But a double-gutted straight
You know, if the
flush
money
draw.
had gone in on the flop, obviously Nick could be a little more upset, but it didn't.
Double-gutted straight flush draw there, Dave. Unbelievable.
Wow. Who gave up that seat? Who was in that seat before?
I think it was Jennifer Bankston.
Jesus. Nice move by her, huh? But anyway, as I was rudely interrupted, I will say, when you are short stacked, check raising with ace queen, ace king, ace jack even is often the best play.
Yes.
You know, because you want to get some money in there. Plus, you're not scared of playing a big pot. So why not do it, you know? I almost grabbed your lens cleaner, I swear.
Looks like Isaac got a nice shot of me biting my pinky. Thank you for that. But moves over here to seat 8.
Oh, funny. I mean, you got to just laugh at that. When you think about it, you go, okay, one guy's got top pair. Well, somebody else has got top set. 9-3 suited. Yeah, that's the guy who's going to win all the money. So apparently our mini-series of poker event going on right now is what? Let's see. We've got a no-limit hold'em event. Now tomorrow we've got a 7-card stud event. That's kind of weird. I thought this mini-series is supposed to mirror the World Series. Bart, do you listen to me at all?
Well, yeah, but we've had that conversation in the past, though, that this year it obviously did not.
Yeah, but there's a pot limit event on Wednesday.
Well, we got to re-raise here by the button. We need to see. He's got pocket aces here, Dave, again.
Again.
Aces again.
We've had aces like 9 times?
Yeah.
Unreal.
Raise here by Kelsey with pocket threes. And again, you'd been playing it tight, and I guess he just decided he needed to open it up a little bit. Mike called, and now we got a re-raise here by Bob. 100 more.
Nothing wrong with playing it that way.
And David is deep, but Bob is not deep.
Nah,
David cannot make this call.
This is an easy lay down if you have threes here. Really is.
You just finished chapter 8, didn't you?
Mike obviously Kelsey just thinking, well, if I call, is there a chance Mike can call too? But obviously he's going to throw it away. Mike obviously not going to get involved. And B.O.B. Bob here takes it down.
Well, the other thing that we also talked about the miniseries was the fact that, there really weren't a lot of non-hold'em events here either.
No, they scratched like the deuce to 7 triple draw on those events.
Yeah.
But I was just surprised because Wednesday's event at the World Series is pot limit hold'em. And usually we're one day behind, so I'm just curious why Tuesday's event, which is tomorrow, isn't pot limit hold'em as well.
Well, Dave, on Saturday's event at the World Series was Omaha High-Low, I guess, and limit hold'em, and Friday's was limit hold'em. Well, I guess they have to choose one if they're doing 2 days.
Right.
Two
Well,
events
usually
a
it's
day.
one day before.
Right. So Friday's was the 300.
You see, they had pot limit Omaha on Saturday, and sure enough, Monday's event was pot limit Omaha.
Considering how the game started.
And we've got news for you.
Super tight.
If by chance, luck hasn't been going your way, don't despair, because anybody can do well in a tournament. We have proof of that. Our own Ronnie has actually he got to the final table last night in a tournament.
Now, we had a pre-flop raise here. King-Jack against 9-6.
Yeah, Nick was the raiser. Bill called him with 9-6.
And Nick did not bet out there with the ace. And Bill checked right behind him with a 9 that turns a 10.
Well, if you're Bill here, you probably figure you got the best hands. Well,
I don't know.
Nick is going to fire now.
Well, Bill calls. They could catch a king and jack or a queen here. Oh, there's a jack. And now he's probably going to... Well, I thought maybe now he would actually check.
Now he's going to bet almost like a little blockish, little half value, half blockish bet.
Yeah, that's 30.
And I think Bill's probably going to pay him off. But apparently, our own Ronnie came in 4th place in the pot limit Omaha event. So congratulations to Ronnie.
And 6-9 does call there, Dave.
Mickey Million.
Call. Interesting post here by Eastern Block saying, the subscription fee has ruined my life. I paid $14.95 out of my credit card to subscribe to this show, and the resulting lack of funds in my bank account made me unable to pay medical bills for my dog, wife, and mother, all of whom have died. I hope that both of you, Bart and Tuck, are castrated by an angry Barry Woods after Corporation Mike sucks out on him for a $25,000 pot. Well, there you go.
Well, you know what I mean? I bought all of it until he said that Barry would be sucking out on my Corporation Mike. Anybody that knows the two of them knows that it's Barry sucking out on Mike. All the way around.
Oh, I got about a half an hour left in the show.
That's classic.
Eric is going to raise it up here to 20 out of seat 9. Looks like he's got ace-jack offsuit. And Nick is going to call with jack king 9 of hearts here, Dave. Kia also calls.
Got about half hour left in the show, you said, right?
Yeah, 4-way action here. King 10 deuce here. Well, Nick's got top pair.
Well, that's good enough to go to war with. He's on a button as well.
And Eric is going to bet 40 here, and Nick is going to raise to 240 with King 9. Well, that's probably going to get it done.
Yeah, you'd imagine.
Yeah. Eric says you have a pair.
I got no pair. No hand, no pair.
And I got to tell you, Nick's style in this game, it works if he doubles through or triples through to $1,600. But when you're down to $500-600, it's just not that intimidating.
You know, it's funny. Did you see the news earlier? I am no huge George Bush supporter or sympathizer. But I got to tell you, they blew up this big story that, him and Tony Blair were talking. Tony Blair was mic'd. And they thought they were having a private conversation, and he used the word shit. And it's the lead story.
That George Bush said
he said shit, yeah. I just thought it was a little ridiculous.
The lead story.
Yeah.
George Bush says shit.
Right.
God. Wouldn't that be great if that was the worst thing he did the last 4 years?
Yeah, right.
God. I really don't want to take this show down a political road, but man, how great that would be. That's what we were complaining about.
Right.
Yeah. The subscriptions are going up. Is it worth it to buy them?
My eyes were playing tricks on me. Seat number 7 there. Tony's got 6-5 of clubs, but for a second I looked up and it looked like 2-5 of clubs.
Give him a shot.
And did I say 8.5 to 1? I thought, actually what I meant to say was 85% on the aces against ace 8-6.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me. Thank you for pointing that out, Station. Of course, you're never going to be
you're
that
off
much.
there too, man. It's not even close to 85%.
Right.
79.3%.
You're never going to be that much of a dog unless you're sharing the part. Like if you've got aces against, say, ace 3, that's when you're about a 91% favorite, right? About 9-1 favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pocket aces like ace 8.
Right.
Something like that, where you can't make a straight, you can't do anything with it.
And then Mark says on the table, subscriptions are going up. Well, subscriptions are not going up. That's another thing. It's interesting how it's like a game of, Operator in life. Remember that game Operator where somebody tells a secret? Yeah. And then it gets around like 20 times, and then the story is totally changed by the time it gets around.
It was like the day I got back from Vegas. Apparently, I was the co-conspirator. I was the, I was the man behind the Holocaust.
Jack 9 deuce here, Rainbow. Now, Kelsey's got King 9. Is he going to lead out here with middle pair?
No, he's already checked.
Got a live update that Yosh just got sucked out pretty hard. All in Jack against 10-10, and he lost. Gets a little crippled down to 66,000.
Right.
Turns an 8 here.
Well, Bill is now open-ended after it checks around. And he's going to bet $10 with his draw. And Mark is going to call. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I just don't...
With ace-7, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of stuff I just don't understand. And the river comes a 5. And Mark is good with ace-high. But, of course, Bill has got to fire again here. He's missed his draw. And what does Mark do? I mean, did Mark really want to catch a 10? I mean, if a 10 comes off, yeah, he has a straight, but anybody with a queen would have a higher straight.
Barry Woods also said earlier today, Dave, either an email or in a thread, that gentleman that won the $2,000 no limit, I think it was Jason Madsen, youngest player to ever win a bracelet, 21 years old. He lives across the street from Barry.
How old? 21 and what, though? What was he, like, turned 21
that's
like
not
a
the
week
point.
ago?
In West Hills, and Barry Woods said he was giving him lessons. Barry Woods giving Madsen lessons. That's why he won.
I don't doubt it, man. I tell you.
I know. That's the funny
I don't doubt it at all. You got to realize that when you're playing in a tournament, obviously, good players put themselves in a position to get lucky, but you have to be tremendously lucky to get through any field and win a tournament. The deck's just got to hit you. It's one of the reasons I just keep saying. I mean, I still maintain that. I maintain that probably 95 to 98% of tournament poker players do not make a living just from playing tournament poker.
Yeah.
Get a raise here from Kia. Mike's going to call. And flop comes out Jack 9. Couple of clubs. Not a real good flop for either player, really. And Kia's going to bet what looks like about $40 into about a $50 pot. And it's one of those spots if you're Mike, yeah, this guy could have ace-king, he could have ace-queen, but he could also have 8s or 10s or queens. And do I really want to go to war with 6s? Mike throws it away. And apparently, Phil Hellmuth is in second place in the Omaha table?
No. He already got knocked out. Remember?
Oh, did he?
Okay. Earlier. Yeah. But Brent Carter looked to be still in it.
I was really excited that Chip Reese won the horse event. Really kind of validates. I mean, not like he needed validating. Chip Reese is such a fabulous player, but it did kind of validate his career in the sense that, the inaugural $50,000 event, And one of the best players of all time winning.
Well, you know, Barry Greenstein said it on Sirius Bluff Poker Radio, and it's not surprising that, you know, 5 out of the top 20 players that made, you know, the final 20 were regulars in the big mix game.
Right.
You know, the 4 and 8 mix game.
And they're very good poker players. They're not good Hold'em players. They're not good Omaha players.
Right.
They're poker players, and they can apply poker theory to any game.
Now, Kelsey is going to raise it up here with ace-3 suited here on the cutoff.
In power position, he's going to use his use the position to probably take this down.
Now, Nick calls with 9-10. He is out of there, Mark's out of there. We're heads up 9-10 against ace-3. About a $100 pot here. Oh, there's the 3. Nick has absolutely nothing. He shakes his head and he checks. And, you know, is he kind of giving off a reverse tell like he's sandbagging something?
Right.
And then Kelsey thinking, well, if I bet, this guy's going to check raise him. But he's going to bet anyways.
Well, you can't play in fear of the check raise. You got to put some money out there and give the guy a chance to check raise.
And did he move all in? Did Nick move all in? Okay, so Kelsey has bet here. I thought that Nick said all in, but maybe I was mistaken. There it is. Kelsey takes it down there. Yeah, it's good work out there by Ronnie. Sometimes Donna's on vacation now. Because sometimes I confuse them when I say, what is the action? And I realized it a couple weeks ago. If they say it in a certain way, it defines somebody's hand. Like if Ronnie were to say, did he move all in? You really shouldn't say that.
Right.
And in that case, he really handled it well. Because he said, what's the action? Which is usually the best thing to say.
Well, of course.
Good job, Ronnie. Yeah. Putt moves over here to seat 6. Yeah, it looked like Yosh would have been he would have been first place there, so if he had won that hand, now he gets kind of crippled.
Yeah, apparently he still has 60,000 in chips, so depending on what the blinds are, maybe he's still okay.
You know, I'm so frustrated by just kind of the lack of, you know, I spoke with a couple of journalists out there this time around.
Yes.
The gentleman, I think his name is Paul, I forget his last name, at Tau Poker, you know, kind of writes a pretty interesting blog. And, you know, this year is just so much different for media than it ever has been in the past because the only people that are allowed to cover the tournament are people from Card Player. And I don't even know if Poker Wire is allowed to. And then just the coverage is so bad.
Well, the difference is actually the players they're allowed to cover it. They're just not allowed on the floor.
Okay. Yeah.
I actually have a media pass. I think. Did you get your media pass?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So we're allowed to cover it.
Yeah.
I can bring my camcorder down and I can interview somebody in the hallway. I just can't bring it into the room. Which obviously is.
But the point is that it just seemed. I'm really not happy with.
No, yeah, Card Players. Their coverage last year was a lot better.
Oh yeah. It's just a total mess.
Well, you wonder. I mean, some of the people that covered it last year that did such a good job for him, like Scott Huff.
Yeah.
You wonder if Scott's just a little too big to cover the regular chip counts now. Now he's doing, like, you know, battles with Phil Ivey over Miss Pac-Man. Did you see that?
I did see that. 4-way action here. 6 deuce 4, all diamonds. Well, no one's really got a... Bob's got a queen of diamonds here. And Mark is going to lead out here with 4-5. It's a ballsy bet.
Yeah, you know what? He's only one player behind him. I like the bet. I really do. Why not put some money in there and see where you're at? Bob is going to call.
Yeah, that's a real surprising call. He's going to check call with the third, chasing the third diamond.
You notice how I like the bet by Mark. But I would hate, let's say we reversed it. Let's say Bob bet. I think it's a terrible call by Mark.
Absolutely.
It's a hand, you can bet this hand, but you can't call. And there's the 5 of diamonds. This gives Mark 2 pair.
Well, now Bob is going to lead out. He doesn't beat an ace, a king, or a 3 of diamonds. He has but the 4th diamond here.
Yeah, unreal.
I mean, this is the problem, again, if you were going to check call with the queen of diamonds. If you catch it, I don't want to go for draws that I don't even know if are good, Dave, right?
That's the whole point. It's hard enough to hit a draw.
Mark holds it.
And you also realize there's no implied odds.
And the
whatsoever.
river is the 3 of diamonds. If you see that rabbit cam there, there would have been a straight flush on board.
Yeah. Both players chopping it up.
Yeah.
You got to realize there's no implied odds whatsoever on that draw.
Yeah.
It's very obvious. So you're not going to get paid off. Second of all, you got to realize you're either going to win that small little pot, or if the guy has the ace, he is going to at minimum call you, or he might even put a little raise in there, or he might smooth call you and then put a red on the river. You never know.
Ace Jack of Hearts here. Over for, looks like seat number 8 on the button. Probably going to open raise here a bit.
And Bob's going to make it $40 to go. That's an awfully big raise. Well, it's not that big, actually. He's about $600 deep. I was going to say it's a big raise if, say, you're 400 deep. But once you get to 600 or 700, you know, obviously you want to raise your raise sizes a little bit. See that problem sometimes where people are making it, say, $20 to go or $25 to go and they have $350 in front of them. Well, then they triple up, and now they have $1,300 in front of them, and they're still making the raises of 20 or 25. They're almost inviting people in there. Wow, almost 7,500 on the table. I got to tell you, I got to hand it to Ronnie. He's got the exact chip count, 74-38. Because Kelsey has exactly $1,108 in front of him. Mark got the table covered at 1370. Let's see how they're doing. Mark up 870, Kelsey up 608, Tony up 600, and the rest of the table is down. Now remember, obviously we have a disproportionate number of people up, but that's because Jennifer actually left the table, I think, down about $1,000.
Yep.
Just did not go her way tonight. Actually, it was 1,200. She corrects me. Well, you know what I mean? When you consistently put your money in with the worst of it, obviously it's going to catch up to you.
Jack 10-3 here. And Kia's got top and bottom pair. And he's going to bet out. He had a free ride in the big blind. That's probably going to do it. Now, we have an email here from Brian, who I assume cannot hear this if I respond.
I know what. I was about to ask you
but
this.
We'll get to this in a second. Now, Nick is check called. Well, the turn's a queen. He is still good here. Nick's picked up an open-ended straight draw now.
And if you're Kia, man, you got. I mean, this is a scary board. I got to tell you, I hate my Jack 3. I really do.
Well, he's going to bet again. He's going to bet.
Well, he only has $200.
60.
So.
And a quick call here again by Nick. But I got to tell you, if he check calls here, I definitely think I have the best hand. If a blank comes on the river, I might bet
definitely.
the
And if he
value.
checks the river, I'm definitely going to bet. Yes, I agree with you. Well, that's a blank.
Well, yeah, it's backdoor diamond blank. And he moves all in on the 5. Nick has moved all in here. I got to tell you, I think you call here if you're key. I mean, the pot is about $400. You only have about 120 left, Dave.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
You're getting 5-1. If the guy has backdoor diamonds,
Yeah,
he
he's
has
gonna
backdoor
make the call.
diamonds. All the power to you, buddy.
Jack 3 is good.
And those are bluffs that, you know, obviously Nick's a real aggressive player. He's kind of a tournament player, uses his laggy style to kind of like, you know, get people off their game. But, you know, one of the reasons Mike is so successful at his bluffs is he does kind of think them through.
Yeah.
And you see sometimes, you know, less experienced players, somebody like Nick there, making a bluff that just doesn't make any sense. He's looking at his stack. You got to really look at your opponent's stack and go, can I get this guy off this hand? Is there really any reason to do it?
So Brian has emailed us, and again, he's probably not going to hear what we say. He says, hi, I'm trying to get my 30-minute free preview, and all I'm getting is the 6-minute promo. Thanks again, Brian. Well, tech people, you know, correct me if I'm mistaken, but I assume you can get the 30-minute portion of the show for free in the first 30 minutes, and then after the show is done, it replays until the next day, correct? Oh, I guess we're 1 day behind on the 30-minute previews.
Right, the replays.
But
The replays are yesterday's.
Uh-huh.
But if you want to watch the first 30 minutes, it's the first 30 minutes. It's not like you don't get to choose when you want to see your free 30-minute.
Right, but you can watch the first 30 minutes of tonight's show live.
Right, tomorrow.
Right.
Tomorrow, tonight's first 30 minutes will be free.
Right, but you can also watch it in the beginning of the show tonight,
Obviously,
right?
live, yes, of course. Now, if it's Tuesday and it's a full moon, though, then the 30-minute preview will be yesterday's. Or maybe last Tuesday's. Yeah, that's it. 10-5-4. Nick raised it up with the old queen deuce. Bob called. Eric decided not to call. And Nick is going to bet here, and you can see Nick's stack is dwindling. But he's going to take this down.
A couple more emails here. Todd B. says, Bart, the more I thought about it, the more I think that Harris should have refunded your money. You're a well-known pro who made it very well publicized what events you were planning on playing. Just as a professional courtesy from one casino employer to another, Harris really should have refunded your money. Have they given you any more explanation? And no, and they haven't, and that was definitely the angle that, you know, you and I first discussed on my way back to the Rio of me trying to make a case to.
Yeah, that was my thought was, you are in a position to make Harrows look like really a good guy. You know, really to make him look good. And you'd think that, you know, $5,000 is very small in the scheme of things. I mean, what is Harrows? A $400 billion company? Some ridiculous number?
Yeah.
They're HET on the stock exchange. I mean, I don't even know what they're worth right now, but it's ridiculous, the amount of money.
He is going to raise it up here to 20 with ace-10. Bob is going to call. Kelsey's going to call here with a couple of eights, and Bob is going to come in here with. He's going to come in with 7-4 diamonds. So here we go. $60 pot. Wow, nice flop here for Kelsey. He's got the overpair with an open-ended straight draw.
Now, Bob has got top pair open-ended as well.
Right, bottom end of the open-ended.
Now, in this case, his open-ended is good. You've got to realize that if an 8 were to come, what are the odds that somebody would have a 9 in their hands?
Now, Kelsey checks because Bob was actually betting out of turn. So now Kelsey checks to Bob, and Bob now bets. Maybe, you know, it's funny, when you get a guy who's betting out of turn into the pre-flop raiser, maybe you let him bet to see what the pre-flop raiser does behind him.
No, definitely.
You know
why
what
not?
I mean?
You get some information by doing that.
Yeah.
One of the reasons a lot of times why people check call the flop is because that way they see what everybody else does behind you.
Now, Kelsey check calls here, and the turn's a 9, and he's got a straight.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, this is a really scary card. I think if you're Kelsey, you put a little bit of money in there, build yourself a tiny bit of a pot. He's going to bet 115. Well, he's not going to get called.
Well, obviously, the 9 really kills Bob's hand. An 8, obviously, we just chop it up.
River's a 10 there. Email here from Jason Whitmore saying, since I hear there's a lot of whiners that want everything for free, I just thought I'd send this in as a note of support. Got to have my Live at the Bike viewer from the start, Jason Whitmore.
Thanks a lot, Jason.
And again, I got to tell you, I mean, you were kind of joking, I think, with that freeloader comment.
No, I
don't. Yeah, you probably weren't. I don't go with that view. But, you know, I just think that people that, you know, kind of the outcry that's happened don't really understand fully our situation.
Of course not.
We're not trying to.
And I got to tell you,
not trying to be greedy.
Not
and
only
suck the amount of money as possible.
Not only do they not
viewers.
know our situation,
right?
They shouldn't know our situation,
right?
It's not a matter. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Well, top pair there for seat number 2. Kia's got top pair.
Yeah, King 9-6, all spades.
And the action's on Kia. I'm not sure what they're waiting for. Hello.
Kia called time. He's going to bet. Well, Mark's open-ended, Dave. But there's a 3 flush out there. So is it really worth it?
It's a complete garbage hand. And he throws it away. Nice lay down by Mark.
Email here from Rick, the Sleeping Giant, saying Bob over there in seat number 8 is far from new. He was a longtime no-limit host at Wine Gardens, which is another casino here in Southern California. Thanks, Rick. I just said he was new. I've never seen him on the show before.
Right.
That's what I meant by that. Yeah.
Get a nice email from Buck Ramsey. He's glad we went to subscription. Too many donkeys getting this great commentary for free, including me until 2 weeks ago. Since I started watching a couple of months ago, my cash game has caught up to my tournament play, which has in turn made me a better player in the early rounds of the tournaments. I tell my best friends who are serious about poker that they have to subscribe, and I tell no one I play with on a regular basis for obvious reasons. Apparently, Bart, you outlasted him by 700 people in yesterday's WSOP qualifier, but he still beat over 6,000 people, which means nothing. Laughing out loud. Thanks again. Well, thanks for the email, Buck. Appreciate
Kia
the support.
raised here with Queen 8. Oh, excuse me. Kia raised with Queens, and Mark re-raised with Queen 8. He made it 85.
Once again, you've got to realize that your queens are vulnerable. Sometimes in a game of this magnitude, like let's say you're $1,200 or $1,300 deep, it's one thing. But if you're only $400 or $500 deep, sometimes queens are just too good to get away from.
And Kia is going to re-raise here to 200 more. Again, you talk about, is there positive expected value to re-raise with queens when you've been re-raised?
Well, in this, like I was going to point out, though, in this case, though, remember, if you're $1,200 or $1,300 deep, it's one thing.
Yeah.
But this guy's only like $450 deep. What is he supposed to do, just check in and fold? Or, I mean, check and then lead out on a small pot. I mean,
Maybe you just check raise a flop that does not contain an ace or a king all
there you
in.
go. That's not a bad play.
Yeah, you know.
And if he's got aces or kings, you just tap the table and you go,
Yeah,
okay, well,
yeah.
what am I going to do?
Because, I mean, here Mark is going to get rid of it. I mean,
mean,
he's just making the move.
It's very rare in this game that you should be able to get away from queens when you're short stacked. Now, we saw earlier on when Jennifer Bankston had aces and Mark had queens. We both thought it was an easy laydown for Mark.
She definitely misplayed. Well, actually, we both thought that Jennifer actually misplayed it because she defined her hand way too much.
Yeah,
but she got a call anyways, though.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
It was kind of twofold. I mean,
Yeah.
Mark definitely should have called. I really thought Jennifer should have smooth
Well, Mark
called
should have
with the
folded.
aces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mark definitely should have folded. Jennifer probably should have smooth called with the aces.
And I mean, the same thing happens anyway because then the queen comes off. Mark's going to move all in, and Jennifer's going to quickly call him with an overpair. So, I guess it was meant to be.
Another email here from Jim Dolce. Or, is that right? No, do you think that's Dolce or Dulce?
Dolce.
Dolce? Yeah.
We'll call him JD.
And this is an interesting email, and it wouldn't surprise me if more people are in his boat, and I'll get to it in a second here. Mark is going to raise it up here with Queen 10 of hearts. Got a call here from Kelsey with King 9 of clubs in the cutoff. Button's going to call with 3-4 offsuit. And Tony's in there with King Queen suited, so we got about an $80 pot here,
Well, there's the Jack 7.
which misses everybody. It has missed everybody. And Mark is going to make the continuation bet here, and that's probably going to do it.
It's a nice board to bluff into. I always talk about boards that you want to bluff into. It's there's no draw whatsoever. So if somebody calls you, you're pretty sure that they either have a 2-pair or a 7.
Right.
And I don't think anybody's going to call this. I mean, unless Tony wants to make a move.
Nope.
Not going to get involved.
So Jim Dolce says, have subscribed. After the announcement of the show going to subscription, I thought about whether to subscribe or not. Finally, I figured, what the hell. I'm so glad I did. I'm enjoying the nightly program as always, but the archives are way better than I thought. And again, that's what I talk about when people, kind of are in his boat where they say, okay, well, now I'm going to have to subscribe to the archives to watch the entire show for free. But then they didn't realize actually that the archives themselves are worth the money alone.
Yeah, they don't realize what they're getting out of it. Not only do you get, obviously you get the commentary with Greg Raymer and Barry Greenstein and Kathy Liebert, and the list goes on and on and on. One of the best features that I always love about the archives, to me, more than watching the replayed versions, I love that I can fast forward and go back and forth. Because most often when I'm watching myself play, I want to watch a few specific hands. Or if I'm watching somebody else play, I want to watch one hand over and over again, which I could never do at the replay. But I can do at the archives. They're also cataloged really well. I got to give props to whoever does that.
Since we made that switch over a couple months ago, it's really amazing now.
How easy it is to find a good hand.
Ace King 8 here. I believe it was a straddle pot. I want to say.
It was. You're right.
Nick straddled it, and so it was limped around 5 ways. So it's a $50 pot. Now Tony is going to come out and bet with a weak ace, and Nick is going to raise with bottom pair. He's got a mini raise here with 8-5.
Well, can Tony go to war here?
Well, he can't, but again, you got to look at the type of player Nick has been. He makes the call, and he has by far the best hand. Well, the turn's at 5.
There it is.
And Nick has made 2-pair. And now Nick has moved all in. He has moved all in, and Tony is not going to get involved. Again, kind of an overplay. If Nick probably could have built himself a little pot there. I don't know if Tony would have gone anywhere.
A real odd play there. You got to think about it and go, okay, now I have 2-pair and I'm moving all in. I got lucky enough to get there. Why overbet? The only person I can only get called by 2-pair or better, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, you almost force the guy out. By betting so much, and Sklansky and Miller actually talk about this in the book, by betting so much, by overbetting the pot, you actually force your opponent to play proper poker. Instead of building up a pot and having him call you down with ace-deuce. Button moves over to seat 7. Once again, the blinds are 5 and 5. Nick is under the gun. He's first to act. And we're going to get a raise right away by Nick. Now, Nick's got ace-king offsuit, and he makes it 25 to go, I believe. Maybe 30, actually, I'm going to say. Mark's going to call a 30 with ace-6 suited. That's going to bring in B.O.B. Bob. That's also going to bring in Tony there. But Eric is not going to call. And we're going to see this 5 ways, $150, free flop. I'm amazed Jennifer actually got out from this game. such a good game right now. Queen 6 deuce. And flop really doesn't hit anybody hard. I believe Mark has the best hand here with ace 6, but how does he know that? And this just looks, I mean, look at this bet here. He bets $30 into a $150 pot. Now remember, he's been moving all in with any kind of hand or any kind of draw. Now he bets $30 into a $150 pot. Everybody folds, and now it's heads up here. Mark's got him, he's really got him in a bad shape here. Nick's going to need a king and only a king. Pot is $210. Nick checks it. I think it's an easy bet for Mark. If I'm Mark, I'm going to bet about $200. He bets 30. Come on, Mark. Lift up your skirt. Strap on some balls. Jesus. The pot is $210. You're betting $30? I mean, there's just I can't see any reason for me ever betting $30 here. If I had queens full here, I would still bet like 75 or 100 even. Now Nick's going to fold. He's going to throw it away. The river was a deuce. Wouldn't have changed anything. But $30, I mean, that's just such a small bet into a $210 pot.
Let's take a look at the final chip count. Final chip count of the night here. There we go. Wow, up to 6,800. Remember, we started the game at 38, Dave.
Yeah.
And it's just the nature of this game that it just gets deeper and deeper as the game goes
Well,
along.
we got to thank Jennifer Bankston for that.
Let's take a look at the differences here. Mark, the chip leader now with 1,100. Well, Mark is up 600 here. Mike down almost $1,000.
Yeah, but that's not as bad as Jennifer Bankston. Remember, she lost $1,200 tonight.
Are you subscribed at Arcade?
Wow. I mean, considering how tight she plays, that's a big, big loss for her.
Whoa. Hey.
Now we got to see a raise here by David Kelsey. Queen 10 of diamonds, 45. And Mike is going to call. Mike has David dominated here. But again, you know, David has the betting lead, so he probably can drive some of the action.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
So here we go. We're heads up, last hand of the night. Queen 10 of diamonds against Queen Jack of hearts. And here we go to the flop. Wow, Kelsey's flopped a nice flop for him. Flush draw with a big scare card out there. Can easily make a big semi-bluff at this, and it's probably going to
Yeah, this is an easy, although you obviously got to beware.
He checked it, Dave. He checked it.
And Mike
And
is
now
gonna,
Mike is gonna make a bluff at it.
and that's the problem sometimes. Some people get scared instantly. Go, well, I raised. This guy called me. Couldn't he have a king? Well, he could have a king, but he also doesn't have to have a king. He could have ace queen. He could have ace jack. He could have pocket nines. There's so many hands he could have. And by checking now, you've now induced this bluff, and you're put in a spot where you really want to check call with a flush draw. What is the naked
Well, is he
flush
setting
draw?
a check raise up, which is something you don't normally do in this game because the stacks aren't all that deep. Although in this case it would probably work. Mark's got only about 350 left.
I hate the check raise with the draw. I mean, unless the draw is just so huge. You got to realize that if you get called, let's say Mike had ace king here, you check raise, Mike calls. Let's say a spade comes on the turn, then what do you do? What's your plan of action then? Unless you're check raising all in with some fold equity. I just don't, I hate the play, especially when you're deep.
Well, all right. Well, he's going to check raise, and like I said, in this case, I think it's going to work.
Of course it's going to work.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mike's got nothing. He's going to throw it away. But you've got to realize, if Mike had, say, ace-king, and Mike smooth calls, then what do you do on the turn
Well, I get it.
when
You
a
know,
blank comes
I do
off?
have to come to David's defense a little bit, and sometimes it is something that the players will rightly criticize us for
Go
in
ahead.
terms of commentary, is that Kelsey plays this game a whole lot, and he's probably played with Mike a whole lot. And if he thinks that he could actually get Mike off of a king with this move because Mike has such respect for his play, this
Okay.
might be why he's doing it.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
I mean, my only question for you, though, is why not just bet your draw? Why put more chips in there with a draw? Because if the guy actually flops some sort of a big hand, well, he's going to smooth call you. There's no need for Mike to raise, is there?
Right.
Let's say Mike actually had a set there, right? Is there any point to Mike actually raising? He smooth calls. Then you have to lead on the turn, and you're dead.
That's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hey, there's Jennifer.
Oh,
She ran away.
that's it?
Hey, come in between. Oh, there she is. 5:10 no limit tomorrow, Tuesday night. hopefully it will be will usher in a new kind of era of 510 no limit 500 min games. So for Dave Tuckman, for Jennifer Banks, and I'm Bart Hanson. Good night, everybody, from Live at the Bike.